on behalf of Antonio and myself, I just want to welcome you all to this second edition of this masterclass. It's something we are very, very excited about, Antonio and I. We are working on this, and we are very happy to have you here. And I want to start here just by sharing my slide deck. So we want to welcome you. And what is our main target on this webinar? You know, it's to enhance your expertise and fine-tune your skills and how you can use AI in project management. Because right now everybody talks about AI, but do people know really what we are talking about? Do we know really what is behind all this concept of AI? And we want to understand, because one of the key objectives of us is to make sure that we create a good number. With this second masterclass, we'll reach more than 100 people that were trained by us in these two masterclass. And what we want really, we want to create people that is able to influence the positive use of AI in project management, because we will see, and we'll have guests today that will put some challenges for us on the ethical, on the legal, on the copyright, on the privacy thing that we really need to understand. And we'll talk about the impact of AI in project management. We will identify, for example, if you are developing an AI system, what kind of stages do you need to think about? And we will have some guests today and some guests next week, where we'll talk about practical applications, what we can do with that. And what is very important, this is why I said about the camera, it's a network. What we want is that we create, all of you will have access. I will invite all of you to our LinkedIn group. We have an alumni where I will connect you to the first group. So it will be a group of about 100, 110 people that will be together on this, okay? And this is exactly what we want. We want to build this movement on this topic. And some ground rules. Be punctual, okay? We will start on time. All the lesson will be recorded, and we'll share with you at the end of the first day and at the end of the second day. If you want, I would say I want to remember what Ricardo said on this. I want to remember what I should do in other things. So I will record everything. We'll do a break around 11 a.m. Eastern time for about 10 minutes. The camera I already said, you should have your phone close to you, because we will do some quick pulls. So it's very easy for you just to point to the QR code and this. And please keep your mic muted unless you are speaking, just to make sure that we do not have any background disruption here, okay? Use the raise hand feature, okay, if you want to ask a question, because it's just easier for us to control. So just raise your hand and we'll control the flow of you and unmute you, and then you can ask your question. When you are speaking, you can say whatever you want, okay? But be concise and sharp, because, you know, sometimes we really need to move on as fast as we can to share with this. But you are more than free to say, I disagree, I don't agree, I think this is different. And this is one of the reasons. We are, Antonio and I, we are just facilitators, okay? And on the chat, use it. There is no limit on the chat. You can do whatever you want here. It's a free discussion. You can put your comments. You can make a suggestion of a book you were reading, you know, and you can do whatever you think it's useful for you there. Okay. So now back on our agenda. So let me show our agenda. In this day one, we will cover 3 topics, okay? Embracing now, life cycle, and how we can see, and I will show you and share with you some of the tools, techniques, and this is a very dynamic environment. On day 2, we'll talk about challenges, case studies, and how do we see the future. So it will be basically 3 parts now and 3 parts next week. And today's agenda, we have 2 guests, okay, that will be with us very short. And they will participate with us, okay, at 3 p.m. UK time. Dr. Golchi will talk, and at 5:20, Tayo Lima, that is a lawyer on data ethics, cyber law, will talk about the challenges the world is facing on the legal side on AI, okay? So basically, this is how we will have our day. And it's, I would say, very packed. You will see that there is a lot of things to do. One thing, I saw that some of you did not fill yet the survey I sent to you. If you have not received it, I will send again, but I need you to fill that survey. Why? Because you all will receive an APMG certificate, okay? A certificate issued by APMG, and they require you to give consent to them to issue the certificate to you. So if you do not give that consent, we cannot send you the certificate, okay? So it's a very important, because we need to send to them this so you can get the certificate. Antonio, before we start, do you want to say something?
Yeah, so thank you everyone for joining. I know we're all busy, but I see some familiar faces. We know each other, and appreciate that. Yeah, you take the time, you join us. It's something that Ricardo and I are very passionate, not just with the masterclass, the research, and moving much more fast into the AI world through the project management. So it's, I think, something that we said in the last masterclass. This should not be seen as just to have these together. We want to create a community. We want to create a network where we connect. After the sessions, we develop new things. One of the students that we had in the first masterclass, Sylvie, now is doing the survey, the research for Canada and French speaking. So there are opportunities, there will be opportunities where this is a space that is moving a lot. There's a lot of entrepreneurship, consulting, lots of things. So I think this is just the first stone or stepping stone in hopefully what becomes a very exciting journey for all of us. So yeah, thank you. Let's move into the content.
Okay, thank you, Antonio. Let me put myself now on spotlight. Okay, so let me start by the beginning. So all of you, every time I talk about AI, I love to share these 3 slides, okay? Every time I talk about AI, I look at this. The Pope with this white vest, Trump being arrested by the New York police, Hillary Clinton delivering pizza, and Will Smith slapping Chris Rock through the eyes of Chris Rock. And why I'm sharing you this, it's because all these images have something in common, and they have something that is very disruptive. None of these photos have ever existed. And they are not Photoshop. They are not Photoshop that you are making people slimmer or you know, changing a part of the eyebrow. No. These photos were fully generated by AI. In this case, using Stable Diffusion and Midjourney. And this is really remarkable, because look, these 3 photos, okay? 3 people, gorgeous photos, a perfect lighting, a perfect eye, everything. None of these 3 photos, these people do not exist. These people do not. They were created out of the blue. When you see this tape, and let me just put quickly this tape for you to listen.
Tell the young they can never become what they aspire to. Born in a cell with no one who can inspire you. Your highs it was never as high as those.
This was attributed to Jay-Z. 1 million views in few hours. It went viral. But this was not made by him. This is 100% generative AI. And this is the world we are living in, where Bill Gates is saying, I have never seen such a demonstration of technology that is so revolutionary. And he said this in March. Another absolutely amazing declaration was what Sundar Pichai said in Davos this year. And honestly, when I saw that note, I thought it was fake, because I said, look, the CEO of Google saying something like fire or electricity or something like that is just remarkable. And then I went to the World Economic Forum, and
I've said this before, AI is one of the most profound things we are working on as humanity. It's more profound than fire or electricity or any of the other bigger things we have worked on.
And it's amazing. You know, someone that is leading probably one of the top 5 most influential organizations on earth saying about fire, electricity, something is coming. And when I say this and I try to explain, it looks like I'm amazed. Oh, this is wonderful. It's something great coming. Yes, but the best photo to represent that, because I was trying another day to think about this, and I said the best photo to compile that is a real photo from Associated Press of 2004. And this, for me, is the best photo that represents this moment. This photo you are seeing now is not an AI photo. This is the beach of Hat Kale in Krab in Thailand in December 26, 2004. And this photo is, we don't know how they were able to take a photo like this one, but these are people on the beach here, okay, on the beach. But when you look the back, you see in the back two of the 7 waves that struck Southeast Asia with the tsunami in 2004. And why I'm using this photo? Why I'm using this photo? I'm using this photo because I want to show you that before a tsunami, what happens? The sea goes back. You know, the beach that used to be, I would say, 100 meters, the beach that used to be 300 feet, becomes 3,000. What happens? It's a massive, and a lot of new, beautiful things are exhibited. Because what happens when this happens, it reveals a lot of things. And if you take a look at this photo, this is exactly what they are doing, because it's so incredible how you see this. And then the wave comes. And why I'm using this as an example? Because are we still, you know, looking to the beautiful things, and we are not facing that there is a wave that could change society, that could, you know, create. And this is the polarity. We will discuss this more next week, but this is what we see. you can see all ranges of perceptions of what is going on and what will happen. Some people think that the world will collapse, like Yuval Noah Harari. Some people think, no, this is nothing. This is just one more tool. And honestly, I don't have an opinion. I am cautiously optimistic, but we don't know yet, because every single day I am surprised, and I will try to show through some examples how this is evolving. Another thing that is super important, look what Goldman Sachs said. 1/4, and this is for me one of the key things, 1/4 of the current workforce will be replaced by AI. This is 300 million full-time jobs. And this is the QR code if you want to see this article. Look, it's just insane, the amount of change in such a small time. Imagine, will people be ready for that? And then go into our life, and will we be ready for that? And this is what was the seed of the article Antonio and I wrote in February, okay? That we were not expecting that, but it became, this article, if I can say, almost became viral, a viral article on this, because, it gave everyone that read the dimension of what could change. And these dimensions goes from prioritization. Antonio will show soon tools on that. Support for the project management office. Ways to improve definition, planning, reporting, virtual project assistants, testing and software, and of course, a completely new role. Because I am being very provocative when I record my podcast in this, with questions like, will PMO exist? Will project management exist the way it exists? Or it will be everything automated. So these are some questions I want us to reflect and have a critical thinking here. And I want to start and ask you to do one thing. I am preparing a Menti. So I want you to enter on Menti with this QR code. Let me just see if it's active here for you to yes. I want you to go here and tell me, how do you feel about these 5 minutes I share? Well, what is your feeling? Do you feel that your current job is at risk? The job you are doing right now, as soon as we finish this masterclass, it's at risk. Do you think that your business, the company you work for, or the company you own, is at risk? And do you think the society is at risk? And we want, we want that. Susan, the QR code is on the screen. Can you see it? The QR code is here on the screen. This QR code here.
I can't see it. There we go. Now I can.
Okay, because it's on Spotlight. Maybe the view you are using is the view, a gallery view, but I'm putting myself on Spotlight. But you can go to Menti. Sueli, if you can do me a favor, can you put on the chat menti.com with the code 27508597. Okay, and let me share with you some of the quick results. So, okay, so my current job is at risk. My business is at risk. The society is at risk. So let me give you one more second here for you to answer this. But look, it's super interesting, this result. It sounds similar to the first class. You're thinking that your job is not, wow, at risk. It means you still think your work is valid. You think that your business is at a lower risk. than your job. This is a little bit different because most of the time people think that the business is facing more risks than themselves. And one thing that combines everybody's scared about is the society at risk. And this shows sometimes a little bit of disconnection, because how your job and your business becomes, I would say, more resilient if the society is not resilient. So it's something for us to think about. And there is a super polemic article that I put you to read. I sent on my note to you. And this article talks about this bias that sometimes the most affected people are the people that think that they are the most protected one against AI. And I'm not saying that this group is like that. Okay, please don't think that, but it's something for us to think. We think that we are not at risk because we know what is going on, or because exactly the opposite, because we don't know what is coming and then we don't see the risks. And this is something, look, we can discuss, we can make another full masterclass just to discuss that. But it's something that is super important for us to know and try to understand, because I truly believe our job will change in a way that has no precedent. Okay, I think in 5 years from now, we'll do a very different thing to deliver our projects. And now I want just to share with you, to align with you some basic concepts, because many people talk about artificial intelligence, but they don't know what they are talking about. Okay, so let me go a little bit deeper here and say, look, AI and machine learning. So what is AI? AI is a field of study. So AI is the generic name we use for the field of computer system that tries to mimic human intelligence. And what is machine learning? Machine learning is a subset of that, okay? That gives computer the ability to learn without needing a program. So AI is here. Machine learning is a subset of that. There are other AI that is not necessarily true machine learning process. Let's take a look here. So in the past, what we had to do, we had to take and program and try to identify what a cat is. And then we give characteristics, and the program check these characteristics and tell us it's a cat or it's not a cat. And this is the test that we did in the past. But with the beginning of neural networks, what we did, instead of giving the characteristics of a cat, we trained a model, saying, showing photos and say, is this a cat or not a cat? And by doing this in a large scale, the computer started to understand the pixels and the photos that would make the system by itself to recognize if it's a cat or not. And this was about 11 to 12 years ago. And this was a big, big change when you were able to use neural networks without the need to program to do that. And then last year, by the end of last year, we had GPT, that is absolutely the most famous, Lambda, Palm, and many others. We start to create these large language models where these systems, they go and read pretty much everything that is available. And by reading that and coding that into a neural network, they learn about that. But they read not in a capability that I have of reading. They can read Absolutely. And this is the biggest challenge we'll see. They can read probably all the books on earth in a matter of, days. They can get that in seconds. We're talking about 1 trillion tokens of information available on GPT-4. Okay, just to give you a highlight on that. So these types of machine learning, they can be splitted into different things, because when I talk, because people talk now a lot about AI, but AI is there for a long time, okay? A long time that humans are trying to make computers to mimic human brain, okay? And now it becomes trendy because for the first time, when OpenAI decided to open it, it makes it public. And what we want here on this is to show you, for example, supervised learning. What is a supervised learning? The key word here is supervision. It means I input a lot of data, I use the model, I predict what can come, and I compare with something I know. So I know, I label the information, say, this is a cat. And then I test. My model is recognizing this as a cat or not. If there is an error, I train the model and I create the model again, I predict and I compare. So this is the training. It means I need to have information. For example, when we talk about bias in AI, what is the problem? Computers do not have bias. Remember that. AI does not have bias. We have bias. And our training data set is full of bias. And what happens? The system just predicts that. The system just predicts that. So this is supervised. And honestly, for GPT to get to what it is today, it has been trained dramatically. Every time you use ChatGPT or you use any generative AI, do you remember when you put a thumbs up or a thumbs down? When you do that, what you are doing, you are giving the feedback and you are training the model. Even if you are not intending to use that, you are training the model. And then it becomes better, every time better. And this is very, very important for us to understand how these systems work. So John has a question here he puts on the chat. What about the input data? If the source is not correct or the model is, even if it's trained, do not recognize false information. You are completely right. One of the absolutely mainstream challenges today of AI and all machine learning process is how right is this? How right is this? And why I'm saying this, because identifying cats, it's not a big deal. It's a big deal, but it's not a big deal. But imagine when we talk about politics, when we talk about codes. Let me give you an example. I was using GPT and I said, can you suggest for me some codes about a topic? And then he mentioned one code and he attributed that code to Einstein, to Albert Einstein. What I did, I copied that code and I put on Google, and it was not from Einstein. It was from Thomas Edison. Then what I did, I went to ChatGPT and say, you are wrong. It's not Einstein, it's Thomas Edison. And do you know what GPT said? Oh, you were right. Sorry for my mistake. So did you see how things work? So this is why, for example, we see all this mess, because many times this training data set is very challenging. Antonio will talk more about that when we are implementing. But there is another one that is called unsupervised learning. What is unsupervised learning is that you don't have the answer. You use raw data, just raw data, and see if they cluster. For example, you take raw data and see if they cluster, means they may be part of a group. If they cluster. For example, there is one study that is super interesting on that, saying that diapers for children, they sell more when they are close to beer in the supermarket. When they're close to beer. And this is true, okay? Don't ask me why, but this is true. And then what is the relationship? Okay, we may guess any relationship, but how they knew that? They took millions of people buying, millions and millions, and they noticed that every single supermarket where these were closed, the sales go up and down. But they didn't do this with one or two. They did this with millions. And then they create a pattern that we did not even know. And this is one of the key things we need to understand. Because, for example, when you are predicting risks in a project environment, you can have challenges like that super easily. Because with a lot of data in your projects, some insights can come up that you never thought about it, that you never. For example, in recruitment, I will talk about that when I talk about HireVue. You can have insights saying, oh, there is a correlation between the way the eyebrows shake and the amount of time and the retention rate of the candidate if he or she is selected. You can have this. And we don't know yet exactly how these will come, because some of them may be socially unacceptable. So we need to see this, but this is something that is already in place. The other one is reinforcement learning. It's when you punish or reward based on the amount of things the environment answer right or wrong. This is perfect for gaming. Most of the gaming industry use reinforcement learning to stimulate you through the game. So basically, you train, and when the algorithm goes right, you give a reward. And this is what is called the reinforcement, because you want to improve desired behaviors and punish the negative ones. And then we have the deep learning. And this is exactly what most of the tools we are using today are using. And this is the use of artificial neural networks to do this. You give an input and you check the output. And here you have in the middle several hidden layers. And in these hidden layers, you adjust your parameter to do and to find the best output you want. So this is absolutely one of the biggest use, because it allows us to make much more complex patterns. And this is the root of all generative AI. The generative AI does exactly that. It trained it in a massive amount and make these adjustments on these hidden parameters to make sure what is the probability of the word that will come after I. For example, I. Oh, is it am, like, and then based on these parameters, it can write almost in natural language, right? And can understand almost, not understand, but can process this information in natural language.
There's a good point here from Brenda. We should use gaming techniques in projects and project management.
Yes, we use a lot. We use a lot in training. It's I would not common, but we use to train people and to use this in workshops and this. There is one thing that I'm working on in Estonia. I am a board member and I am a board advisor. this company is doing micro rewards using AI to tests. Sorry. What is that? Instead of saying, I will reward you at the end of the project by the success rate, no, I create micro deliveries, for example, in a sprint, or the movement of a post-it in a Kanban board, and I give you micro rewards. It's like mileage program for airlines, you know, and then you accumulate points, and then you can exchange these points by, you know, a movie ticket, buy a dinner, this kind of training, for example, but not a training on the job, but you know, you want to play electric guitar and you do that, and this micro, and how this can improve. And this is a reinforcement model using games in project management. Yes, John Cotter, yes, Brenda, exactly. And this is the roots of what we're doing, but we are doing this. We are not defining what kind of post-it they should move first, because one post-it can have 10 points, the other one can have 9. This is the reinforcement learning. So depending on how the contribution of that post-it on the Kanban board is, I will reward you more. And this is using algorithms to do that. Basically, on this deep learning, we have this discriminative, for example, when I classify or predict things, and we have generative, where I generate new data on the top of that. And this is exactly what is the cool thing now in AI. And this was the disruption that ChatGPT brought to us at the beginning of the year, because on this, we are okay, means this exists. And just to give you an idea on how this exists, in 2015, I published an article at the PMI Global Congress in Orlando, in Florida, using exactly this, applying neural networks and analogous estimating to find the project budget. And I did that just to show you, using information that I know about the project, the location, the complexity, the budget, the duration, the number of relevant stakeholders, and I want to know what will be the project management cost. Because people say, oh, project management cost is around 3% of the project, is around 10, but how I can tailor this using this? How I can tailor this using this? And then you discriminate your data for training. For example, I trained with 500 projects, okay? 50% of them remote and local. The complexity, I broke it into 3 different levels of complexity. Budget, different types of budget, and we train the model. And by training the model, we use the data set to train and to see, is the result good or not good? Did you see the good, 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 and good here? And these resulted for me a prediction of a project management cost of, for example, this project. So this is a perfect example, okay? I will not show you now this working because we need to move. However, I will show you soon everything that I did in the old way, this way, 2015 answer, and I will do it again using generative AI with exactly the same numbers, and we will see how things are very, very different, not in terms of the result, but in terms of how useful and how easy it is for us now to do an analysis of that. For example, one question I have is, how people will analyze data now, because computers now can do that in such an easy way that I don't know what we will do in terms of analytics. For example, preparing, for example, reports. How these will be? Do we still need to prepare reports? Will reports still be, I would say, in some ways needed? Just to wrap up this initial part, so how generative AI, because many examples we use here are from generative AI, and it's not magic, but basically what happens, we have an input, okay? We have an input. Then we have a transformer, and this is why we call generative pre-trained transformer. It's a transformer that is pre-trained and it's used for generative. This is why GPT is called GPT, okay? Sorry, I was covering. This is why GPT is called GPT. And then we encode, we transform what you wrote into tokens. Then we use these tokens in our model. This is our large language model. And then we prepare. We encode, we decode, okay, transforming this into tokens, and then we use our transformer. Why I'm saying this? Because it's wrong if we tell and say, GPT took that book that Antonio wrote, the HBR book of Antonio, and copied that. No, GPT did not do that. GPT took Antonio's book, okay, and transformed that into thousands and thousands of tokens. A token can be a word, can be part of a word, can be a part of a sentence. And use that to train the model together with billions of other information. And then it generates. Why I'm saying this? Because this is the root of the copyright. This is the root of what Kai will say. Because now, I don't want to anticipate, but there is a lot of regulations. For example, in Israel, there is a lot of regulation now, even in Australia, that is saying use copyrighted data to train is not a copyright violation. And if this becomes true, wow, this has absolutely massive implications from the way these tools will be developed. So, but this we will discuss some. I just want to raise your interest on that. So in text, we can apply this in text, and we can see this easily. I will show you tools for making WBS chart. And you have an input that is a text. You can translate, you can answer questions. Right now, we are doing that even not knowing that, because Zoom is using AI to summarize this and is using tools like AI Companion that will allow us to chat using AI in this environment. This is just to give you an idea, and this was released by Zoom September 5th, okay? But I will show you this later. We are already, everyone probably is seeing on the top left, like a star blinking. I don't know if it's in everyone's. This star blinking is AI working on all the words I am saying here. This is right now, okay? And images, it's absolutely the same thing. Every pixel you use, you try to identify the next pixel, the probability of that pixel to be more colorful, less colorful. And this is how you can create image. And this is something that it's changing completely the creativity work. Photoshop today, you can do magic with Photoshop today. You can put people on the photo, remove people on the photo, and it will be extremely hard for you to tell this was, I would say, that photo. You can now, for example, take your best artist and put a photo of you together with him or her, And it will be very hard for people to say, no, this is not true. Because it's so perfect. And these evolve. And this is Adobe, okay? I'm talking about a tool that pretty much everyone that works with images use. And now animation and video, right? And this is also, let me just go above and beyond. This will be a massive source of fake news, right? And we already seen that. I published this week on my LinkedIn profile talking about cheat GPT. That is now the trend in the dark web to help students to cheat in their work, okay? To prepare essays that are fake and all of this. And this is becoming mainstream on tools like on social media like TikTok. So just to give you an idea. So what I want now, I want you, Sueli, can you help me? I want to send the teams to breakout rooms, okay? And I want you to split, and we will do randomic groups, okay? Randomic groups. So what I want, we have 40 people taking. People. So I want, I want you to create, Sueli, if you allow me, create groups of 6 people, okay? 5 to 6 people, 5 to 6 people. And in groups, I will give you 15 minutes. So it's more than enough. So put a timeline of 15 minutes, Sueli. And I want you to answer 2 things. First, one application of artificial intelligence that you can use today, okay? I don't want you to tell me the name of a tool, but I want to tell, okay, I can use today AI today to do this inside my PMO, to do this inside the project I'm managing. And the second, I want a moonshot application of AI. I want now on the second one, you to think completely out of the box and say, look, what will be something that you will say in 5 years, wow, if it happens in the project management. So I want you to answer these 2 questions. Also, it's a great opportunity also for you to talk to each other. Yeah. And you should select one representative to share with the full group. And I will select 1 or 2 groups just to quickly present what they did to the full group, okay? Okay, welcome back. Please make sure your camera is on, okay? I know some people feel a little bit uncomfortable, but for the class is important for us to do that, okay? So I want to ask you one thing. Does anyone want to speak and share the moonshot? Just unmute yourself and say very quickly about something very disruptive. So just unmute yourself, don't be shy, and tell us, what do you think?
Hey, this is Molly.
Okay, hi, Molly.
Hi, our group talked about the gathering of data from stakeholder analysis and helping to communicate and analyze what we need to do with our stakeholders would be a super help for project management. And then also we talked about Moonshot. How could that help us to predict the behavior of our stakeholders, or help us to get, tips and tricks to better manage and better predict the risks that stakeholders have in our programs and projects?
Absolutely. Fantastic. Fantastic. Thank you very much, Molly. Does anyone want to share?
I'll share one of our moonshots. One of the ones that came up is having AI represent us in meetings. So over time, AI starts to learn how we think and process and what we would do. And so then the AI could attend a meeting for us and be our representative and then take notes and summarize the meeting afterwards so we know what we said.
Absolutely. Look, this is very real and very possible, because right now, I will tell a little bit later about that, but right now we already have some of this. What we do not have yet is this personal knowledge of your behavior. When we talk about behavior, how people, then it's a little bit more challenging. But in terms of summarizing, translating, and this, I think it's something very real. Another thing that I want just to build quickly on what you said, that, for example, if you have teams that are dispersed globally, and if you have a multi-language, I think the problem with language will disappear in 5 years, 5 to 10 years. It means there are tools now that I can speak here in Portuguese, and you can decide what language you want to listen. And it's my voice. It's not a translator. It's my voice. And this is very scary, but this is something that it will be normal. Imagine that we'll schedule a meeting where everybody, all the meetings attended by different machine learnings, right? It will be strange, right? You will have your machine learning, Ricardo and Ricardo AI, and it will do something different. But look, it was also a great opportunity also for you to know each other. And then the next one we'll do different groups, okay? So you have the chance to know other people, okay? But right now, Antonio, ball back to you to introduce our guest speaker now, okay?
Thank you. And so this is a pleasure to have we know some people that have been leading in this space. And I had the pleasure to meet Golce Phillips for maybe already 10 years. She has been involved very much in PMI Turkey, but also very active in the entrepreneur space, working around the European Commission and startups. And so it's one of these profiles which I find very, very interesting, combining project management with actual startup work. And when we catch up a few months ago, she said, well, I'm working a lot on AI, and I've done a lot of research on AI and tools. And so, she just we asked her if she could come and just share some of the research, some of the tools that she's using with small startups that we could use as well in her projects, because she knows project management as well very well. So thank you, Golce. Really appreciate that you're there. You're calling us from Turkey?
I'm in London at the moment, actually.
Oh, London. Okay, so you're a bit not so late. So thank you, Golce. I really look forward to seeing your presentation.
Thank you very much, Antonio, for the lovely introduction and the invite here. So welcome, everybody. It's lovely to see you all, and lovely to see the interest actually on the AI tools. Right, so my name is Golce Phillips. I'm the CEO and co-founder of a crypto fintech startup called Crypto Index Series. We are headquartered in the UK with an office in Turkey as well. Right, so without waiting too much, I'd like to share the screen and tell you a little bit about how we're using AI in our daily operations, in many projects, how we are automating some of our processes, or enhancing some of our products, or even producing some new products by using AI. And in theory, please feel free to interrupt and ask questions, or write your questions on the chat room, or otherwise I'm going to be happy to answer your questions at the very end as well. Okay. Okay.
Yeah,
right, so you can see it, right?
Yes, Golce, yes.
Lovely, Antonio, thank you. Right, so we will be talking about, as I said, how AI tools are changing the operations, project management, or product development in startup ecosystem. And in our agenda, I'd like to keep it short and nice. So I'll be telling a little bit about myself and the company. I'll be showing you an AI-generated video summarizing this particular presentation. And then we will be going deep into how we've incorporated AI, what kind of process we've followed in incorporating AI to our startup, and then the adoption phases. And I'll be going through 7 use cases with you, also telling you a little bit about the AI tools that we've used. So for me, I've got a PhD in computer science from University of York, and then before and after I work in the industry in fintech companies, logistic companies, and I've volunteered in IEEE for about 10 odd years, and for PMI as well for the last 6-7 years, I suppose. I've also, and this is a PMI trivia for people who are PMI volunteers. I've led a PMI project for project management in startups, and there is this particular guide specifically focusing on how project management can work for startups. And about us, we're a small company, as I said, headquartered in the UK, founded in 2019. I mean, you know, I suppose we're so used to giving these elevator pitches that we keep writing. This is our business model. This is our target customer. But I suppose I also wanted to tell you a bit about customer, so that you know, whatever we do should be really high quality, because we're targeting financial institutions, so we don't have the luxury to do any slapdash work. And again, you know, I'd like to briefly tell you about the product, because we are a data and analytics company. So whatever we do, we are already playing with a lot of data anyway. Hence, you know, AI is actually very interesting for us to play with. You know, our products mainly focusing on crypto data, specifically speaking, digital asset pricing, transaction collection from wallets, doing portfolio analytics, and you know, we already have plans to integrate AI into this particular product. And so, you know, we already have that kind of data background or data expertise within the company. Right. So it was possibly about 6 months ago, in November. No, when was it? The ChatGPT is released, and as soon as it's released, we said, okay, we need to look into this particular you know, application closely. So then we had a workshop internally, and now I call it Discovery and Familiarization Workshop. And then after that workshop, and I'll be going deep into each and every process here, so I don't want to be telling you everything on my first slide. But so this was actually a series of workshops, how we incorporated AI into our operating system. So the second one was about knowledge sharing and utilization. So this is where sort of we started utilizing AI on a day-to-day basis. And then on the third workshop, this was a couple of months ago, where we said, okay, now that we are familiar with certain AI tools, what can we do to more? Like, you know, can we automate some of the processes? Can we come up with a new automated marketing product, or can we enhance our current products? And so this was the innovation phase. And now, in fact, let me stop it for 1 second. So this particular video is generated by the AI, and how it happened is when I sat down to think, okay, how am I going to structure my presentation for you for today? Let me take my notes, and then you know, I took my notes around the previous slides, how we've done it and what kind of steps we've gone through, and what those steps included, what were the phases. I sat down and write my notes, and then I've given my notes into one of the AI tools we use. And so this was the end result. I specifically put it to actually show you also how much we're using it. Obviously, this is going to have a lot of spoiler for the rest of my presentation, but that's okay. I'll be giving you much more details after this particular video. This is only a 2-minute video. Hope you'll enjoy it. Right, so I hope you've enjoyed it, and the name of the tool used is Lumen 5, in case you are also interested. Right, so if you were to go deep into each phase, in the first phase, we said, okay, let's do a bit of discovery. And first, we've chosen areas that need automation, additional work, additional resource. So the work that we weren't able to do with our current resources, what are those? Which sort of pain areas we need help? That was the first thing. And then we've done a wild search of AI tools. At that moment in time, we were able to list about 110 AI tools that look relevant. And we went through each and every one of them. I'll show you my list in a minute. And then we narrowed down the list considering the scope. And in this case, the scope is our pain areas. And then we prioritize the use cases and select relevant AI tools. So this was the kind of process we followed. Now, within this process, here is how it looked. So these were our pain areas. Obviously, we weren't able to address them all at once. We had to prioritize. And then this was a long list of AI tools that we've brought together with my team. In fact, here, I think I've got it open for you. So, we had the name, web page, function, price, areas, department, and some of my own selections. So, like I said, this is a long list of different type of AI tools. And I said to Antonio, I'm happy to share this with you because this is all available on LinkedIn. If it's going to add any value to your work, I'm more than happy to share. Yeah. So, sorry.
Thank you. No, yes, great. Thank you.
Sure. Yeah. So this is really, this was the list of tools that we were able to gather at the time. I'm sure there are many more right now, but the number for us has been 120. And then we had to go through each and selected certain ones specifically for our pain areas. And then going back to our slides. So this was kind of the initial phase, really discovery, what's out there, what do we need to know, in which areas we can use these tools. And like I said, this was the end of actually that particular workshop. And then we said, okay, let's now go and really learn about the tools that we'd like to explore more, and start using, especially, you know, for example, ChatGPT is something that we use daily for any type of questions, content generation, and so on. So, you know, which ones can become a part of our daily ops, and maybe some of them we'll be using when and if needed. And then the second workshop, we said, hello?
It's okay. Just
Sure.
more.
So during the second workshop, we sat down again with the team and said, okay, now that we have more experience with the AI tools, in sort of which use cases we should dig deep, you know, which ones we started using daily, can we share experience with the rest of the team? So this is sort of the let's say phase where there is a lot of knowledge sharing within the team. And some of the use cases that were shared and that are actually still being or became a part of our life, became a part of our daily operations are the following. One use case is traditional content generation. I mean, I'm sure many of us on the line are either doing it or heard someone doing it. So, you know, blog writing, brochure writing, graphics, generating. In fact, I should say every picture you'll see on this presentation are generated by AI. So for this particular one, I've written something along the lines of, you know, give me a book with colorful wings or something along those lines. And so in that sense, you know, our marketing team really started using AI heavily. Business presentations, similarly, again, you know, for this particular presentation, I've used Canva, and Canva also now includes a lot of additional AI tools, including sort of for both content generation and image creation. But also there are existing tools such as Microsoft, you know, PowerPoint or Word. So once you've written your transcript, you can ask the Word to turn it into a presentation in PowerPoint. I mean, so far, you know, I had to edit everything. You know, that's for sure. None of the sort of final work can be said, okay, this, you know, whatever is generated by the AI tool is satisfactory enough to publish it straight away. I can't say this, but nonetheless, you know, at least it's you're starting not from a 0 point, but you're starting from an already existing draft with sometimes even images. Another use case, competitor analysis for startups or for any company, really, this is important. We are always in search of our competitors and see what kind of products they are out there, what are their capabilities. So in terms of that, really, we're using AI tools heavily. Code writing guidance, our developer team started using ChatGPT. Again, you know, we always need to take AI tools with a pinch of salt at the moment, because what they have created can still include bugs. But again, rather than starting from 0, you know, at least you have a code to start with, or you can at least ask, you know, can you give me potential faults in my code? Here is my code. In extreme programming, this is one of the practices for developers. There's the rule of 4 eyes. So you'd always like to have another developer sitting next to you and looking at your code. Of course, you know, I don't think this is reasonable for any company to do, just a developer sitting next to another developer and looking at it. But now with the AI tools, at least we are perhaps able to do that automatically rather than a developer sitting and just watching another developer. Another use case, which I actually forgot to write here, can be, finding email addresses of relevant people. There are AI tools like Rocketbridge, Snow.io, and so on, which we've started using to be able to find the email addresses of target audience. To startups, these are really important activities. But it may not necessarily be the sort of most important activity of a project manager. But nonetheless, once certain things are automated, that means your resources are working more productively. Right. So the final workshop we've had was about was focusing on innovation. So this time we said, okay, now that we've used AI tools and we've integrated some of them into into our routine, how can we use creativity to make AI serve for us? And what would be the value add of using AI? Here we brainstormed about work that would add direct value to one part of our business. And we've selected use cases. We've also said, okay, does it make sense? We also need to understand if bringing AI is actually an unnecessary step, or is it going to bring additional value? So we had to have KPIs. And then we started implementing use cases here. Now, the first one was, this is rather less innovative, I would say, but product and company videos. Prior to AI, we didn't have any company videos. All we had was lots of, brochures or obviously web page reports and so on. But it's actually thanks to AI that we started generating company videos. So in the last 2-3 months, we've had 8 or so videos generated. And so it really actually quickened the otherwise, perhaps difficult job. Here are some of the AI tools we've used. Lemon to generate slides, Jancraft, Midjourney, Canva to generate images, CapCut specifically to summarize prompts and voiceover. And then obviously we needed human intervention to perhaps doing a bit of editing, cutting, checking relevance, and so on. Now, the next one, the next use case, I needed to use a little bit of a modeling tool to be able to understand. Hopefully it's going to be clear. So we have a product called CIS News API. This particular product, what it does, I'd like to actually show you very quickly. It should be in one of my tabs, I believe. Just okay here, yeah. Right. So this particular product collects news from 36 news outlets, and then it categorizes each and every news article. And it's also assigning a particular sentiment score for each news article. So we are able to say, for example, on the 15th, there have been about 38 positive news about crypto, and let's say about 20 negative news in these outlets. So basically, we already have this news product in an API format, basically in a we call it application programming interface, in a format that's that kind of gives a infrastructure to other products. So the idea was, okay, we have this product which is valuable, but we need to be doing more marketing about this, because it's really valuable what the kind of information it's giving us. It tells us how positive the market is. If on a certain day there are too many negative news or too many positive news, that's valuable information for the traders to know. So we said, okay, how about we create a particular newsletter automation tool? And this newsletter automation tool is basically nothing more than using our API and then sending a file to ChatGPT API. And this file it sends looks like this. I must have it open somewhere. Here you go. So this is the file that it's sending to ChatGPT. The news information with all the sentiment scores, categories, etc. that we have done. This is a very long 123-page file in this JSON format that we are sending to ChatGPT. And then we wanted ChatGPT to summarize, insert the highlights, and to write us a post, a summary post, to tell us what are the highlights of the day, to summary the news of the day, what are the most positive news of the day, what are the most negative news of the day, or anything that we want, really. You know, it's up to us what kind of prompt we'd like to give to ChatGPT. And then ChatGPT to publish a post on LinkedIn. So this was the ideal scenario that we came up with during our innovation workshop. And, you know, when we come up with ideas, we'd like to try to design the ideal scenario and then look at which parts can be done, technically plausible, and which parts aren't. Now, in this case, what we've noticed is this ChatGPT 4, right, the API we wanted to use is still version 3.5. And unfortunately, the API 3.5 does not allow you to upload files. It's ChatGPT version 4 that allows you to upload files. Now, in other words, we were not able to automatically do this. Instead, we had to look at a scenario where our marketing team would need the file, and then the file needs to be given to ChatGPT user interface, so not the API. And then the user interface can then do all that we want, and then we can publish the post. So as you see, you know, we started off by saying we'd like to automate the process. At this point in time, because of the limitations of ChatGPT API, we are not able to automate the process. But what we can still do is we send that file to marketing team enters that file into ChatGPT-4, and then ChatGPT-4 gives the results that we want, and then we can publish the post. So here, actually, there is still a manual work, which hopefully will not be there once ChatGPT API is updated to version 4. So just to show you sort of what it looks like, here I have my ChatGPT-4 open. Okay. In fact, this is important so when you do a new chat, what we're using is this particular advanced data analysis. So if you go to the advanced data analysis, suddenly there is this button appears here. And then this button allows you to choose a file. So in this case, this is the particular file that I've just shown you, sort of that complicated news of 123 pages. Now, if I choose that, and then I need to write here my prompt, and I already prepared a report here, mini prompt for you. I'll just copy paste that. So I'm going to say, assume that you're an experienced marketing expert. Based on the news file given, provide me the summary of today's news, highlights of the day, top summary, the most positive news, etc. And then write this in the form of a LinkedIn post with relevant headlines and icons. I mean, I could have really written a much more longer prompt with sort of, this is the, I could have edited another file saying, this is the format I want, and so on. So this is really up to you. You have to become that prompt expert, so to say. And then when you do this, this is the paid version of it, by the way. In the free version, it is not available, what I've just shown you. Right, so first it's going through the file I've just uploaded. It tells me your file is in this particular format. And then now it's proceeding to analyze the content and summarize today's news and all the other information I wanted. And then here you go, writing a summary of the day, highlights of the day, top story of the day, the most positive news. And it's also sort of giving me nice icons so that we can copy paste straight into LinkedIn. Obviously, you know, whether we want it this long or not is completely up to us. We can still write it in the prompt however we like it. We can even put it should be this many words or any other limitations.
Golcha used this very similar, but do the links work with the hyperlinks? Because I see they're using it.
It does actually, yes. So if I go here, it shows cointelegraph.com. It's also taking the news from us, I believe. Here, cryptopotato.com on the left-hand side, you see. Or I can actually, let me click and so you'll be able to see.
Yeah, I had lots of issues there. Okay, that's good. It's improving.
So yes, but the only problem for us was that this is available on the user interface, but the API that we wanted to use had the version 3.5, and therefore we're not able to upload the file for this kind of processing just yet. And so, you know, this is still a sort of one step forward, but yes, we're waiting the next version for this particular use case, let's say. And in this case, you know, the input is obviously the file that we entered, and then it summarizes in the content, highlights the news. We can even generate graphics, by the way. So based on the information, the file I've just uploaded, we could also say, you know, generate me graphics showing me how many positive news or negative news there have been, and things like that. And then produces a social media post, but at the moment there is a human intervention in the process. Another use case we're looking, this is planned, not implemented just yet, is more on the product side. Now, for our portfolio analytics products, we'd like to generate correlation coefficient between cryptocurrencies. What this means is, let's say you own digital assets and you have 10 cryptocurrencies in your wallet, Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana, ADA, and so on. Now, you don't want these assets to be correlated highly, because that means if one of them drops, then your portfolio's value will drop because the other assets are highly correlated. So we'd like to be able to analyze the correlation coefficient between these cryptocurrencies, and we'd like the AI to help us here. We've got the inputs around historical crypto asset pricing. Obviously, we need to work on what kind of statistical models we'd like the AI to use. And then, we need to give the right prompts to utilize these statistical models. And then we will want the AI to generate this for us. Now, at this stage in time, this will not be our only source. We'd like to be able to, do the work on the AI on our side, but also have it implemented in ChatGPT, and then we'll be doing an A/B testing to see whether the results are similar. And so this is yet another innovation use case, I'd say, that we're planning. Right, so this is a quick summary slide in terms of incorporating AI. We've gone through 3 stages: discovery and familiarization, knowledge sharing and utilization, and innovation. In terms of type of projects that any startups can think of, it can be Kaizens transformed into daily operations, one-off automation projects, product or process enhancements, or completely new products. They're all really possible thanks to the developments in the AI. And the observation for us has been that there's a learning curve, certainly learning different AI tools. And there are inherent limitations of these tools. In some cases, those limitations can be money, because every AI tool, obviously, they're charging certain amounts depending on how much you use. In some cases, it's for example, in the ChatGPT case, it was really the API wasn't not being ready. In other cases, perhaps AI tool does one thing, but not the additional thing, and therefore you need to be doing a lot of integration. And that's yet additional resource for us. So I believe those kind of workshops and get-togethers are really important to see this is really worthwhile. Is this going to add value to a product or a process? And whether we will need additional resources to implement that additional project, or or is it really going to make our lives easier? I think there are a lot of internal questions there to be answered. But having said all this, of course, I'm still a big believer of AI tools, and the fact that I think we will all become prompt engineers. Certainly we need to know how to write better prompts. With the ChatGPT 4, now we're able to form identities. So by inputting our own articles, for example, or our own posts, we are able to give identities to AI tools, and so more and more the AI tools can act like a person or like an image. It can be a marketing expert, it can be a developer, it can be a CEO, and so on. So certainly it will help in our daily operations, as well as managing projects. So this is all I wanted to say. Hopefully I wasn't too late in delivering.
No,
Coach Antonio, you can start.
No, good. I really good. I think you've shown practically how it works. I've learned a few things I've been using similarly, but not so advanced in some areas. So really extremely useful. I know Ricardo is going to show us something similar next week on using some other type of files, but are really impressive with what you do. Very thorough, very systematic, and bringing the value. What are the pain points? How can we innovate to get better? Not just one-off, but thinking, I think on the automation, on the process, on the value. I really like that. So thank you. I'll see if there's any questions, Ricardo.
I can go to. It was fantastic. I just loved your presentation, and I have 2 questions. I will combine some of them. First, Michelin and Priscilla, they want to know How long did it take this process? And then on the top of that, I have a personal question. It's with the tools evolving on a daily basis, means every day something new happens. How you keep up to speed? Because sometimes you are testing Lumen and then something is released that changes everything. So how you manage that?
So I think exactly for this reason, the workshops have been useful, because workshops give you a breathing space. I mean, every day you can still spend a half an hour or so to have a look at one new API tool. But when we say, okay, we're going to have a workshop on AI tools, and now come prepared. And when you say that, suddenly really people work hard actually to understand new ones, maybe to show off their knowledge about AI tools, to maybe discover that particular area nobody else has seen. So I think that that's really motivating for the team. I can't say that I'm, daily following the new AI tools, because we have API products. So API is a word that I commonly use. So I can't say I'm daily looking at them, but certainly I'd like to dedicate this time, twice every month or so, to see if there's anything that I'm missing. Or even if I'm not using, I'd like to know that it exists. Like as we were discussing earlier, Otter AI, for example, I haven't used it, but I knew it existed. I think that's also important knowledge. Some things you will not use, but as long as you know that it exists, when you need it, you know that it's there, so you can take it off the shelf and use it. I think for that, really, those workshops helped us a lot.
Yeah, and how there is another question here from the present. First, many thank you on the chats. Okay, everybody really enjoyed. Fimo asked, "Is this is a great presentation? How do you balance protecting IP and using AI tools like ChatGPT?"
Good question. Now. It's still an open question, I would say. I don't think that as a industry as a whole, we were able to answer that question. As a small startup, I wouldn't like to take the step of banning it. I know there are some big corporates who've banned using AI in order to protect their IP considerably. But for us, for example, for the portfolio analytics product we are still implementing, I use it heavily. And the way I'm thinking it is, if somebody is going to spare so much resource, so much money and time into creating what I've built, that person might as well be my my competitor, because what we're building in-house still remains in-house. But obviously, for example, for the specific example I've given, the use case 7, the correlation coefficient and how we're going to utilize ChatGPT for that. Now, somebody else can still input that data and ask ChatGPT to do that. So me asking to ChatGPT doesn't necessarily give away my IP. But I suppose we'll live and see what open areas that we are not able to see right now and will appear in the future.
We'll have a good discussion on that a bit later.
Yeah.
On the ethics, on the IP. Yeah. Okay, well, you took more time that we asked you, so really appreciate that, Golce. If you could share part of the list or whatever you feel like it's, I think, or the highlights, I think that would be very much appreciated. Yeah, well, I think, very impressed with all your knowledge and what you've learned in this space. So I'm really glad you were here with us.
Thank you, Antonio.
Thank you very much. I think people will enjoy it. I enjoyed a lot, okay? Enjoy a lot your thoughtful process. Thank you very much, and thank you for your time with us, okay?
Thank you, Ricardo. Thank you, Antonio.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Tim, right now it's for me 7:54. So we are about 10 minutes behind schedule. That is okay. We'll do now a 10-minute break. When I say 10, I mean 10, not 12 and not 20, okay? So in 10 minutes from now, I strongly suggest you do not disconnect. Just turn off your camera and your audio, because then you don't need to reconnect again. So in 10 minutes, we'll be together here for Antonio on part 2, okay?
Basically, next phase, next stage on this course, session number 2 is the AI, we call it the AI project lifecycle. So how to start from, it's a bit what Golce was doing, but at larger scale. When you're implementing AI in a big organization, in a small, but much more thorough. So many of the AI projects fail. So failure rate in project is already big. Implementing AI projects is even more. So I think it's a lot of unknowns, and still we don't know really how to manage these projects. There are what we call this project life cycle, and there's a small video here that we have just to share that with you, how it looks. Okay, so basically, I think many of you are project managers and experienced project experts, so you can see the phases that we use in most of the project from the analysis. And we grouped that into 5 stages, and we'll just walk through them quickly. The good thing from Ricardo and my perspective, we've both been involved in developing AI tools. PMauto is a big one, so we can share also our experience on this process. I've been working on a prioritization tool, machine learning, so I will demo that as well at the end of this slide, so that you can see real case in case you're interested. So these phases and project lifecycle, AI lifecycle, it's used by organizations like Google when they want to develop a chatbot for their customer support. They will follow these steps. So this is not something that we are making up or just translating from project management. It's really existing. If you go deeper in the AI world, you will see these steps. The learning objectives you can read. Here's a Menti, second one. And just wanted to see how many of you are you familiar with this AI implementations or life cycle, just to get a sense of the expertise in this field. I don't know if we need to launch anything, Ricardo, or you need to take the screen to share. Sorry, I think you are muted.
Yeah, I was on mute. Sorry. Give me just 5 seconds, because I need just to put myself also on screen, and I will. Can everyone see my screen? Myself?
Let me stop sharing, maybe.
Yes. Maybe if you stop sharing, I can, can put myself and you here. Okay, then Antonio, add spotlight. Good. Now, Antonio, you can explain. Okay, these are the results here. If you want, I can remove you, then people can see it better. Okay, now people can see it in a large format.
Okay. I cannot read, sorry.
So it's 0. Oh, look, very familiar here. Very familiar is 0. Then familiar 10%. Then somewhat familiar 30. Not familiar at all 60%. So 60% are not familiar at all. 30% somewhat, 10% familiar, and 0% very familiar. Okay.
Thank you, Ricardo. Who's familiar with these AI life cycles? Can you just put it in the chat or raise your hand?
Or raise your hand.
Who is a bit familiar with the process?
Sylvie, raise it. Sylvie/Alcides.
Okay, so Sylvie, we might pick up a bit later on your experience, but thank you. Okay, so this is again something that I personally I'm familiar because I was curious to try to develop something, not because an organization has been doing that and I have gone through this process. So it's more about research and working on this to learn more, to write articles and do research with Ricardo. So again, I think many of the things would resonate a lot to you. The scoping is very important, the planning, the execution, everything that you see, the tools that we're seeing as well are using this type of approaches to reduce risk, to improve efficiency. We saw that when Golce, I really like when she showed the pain points. That is a fundamental analysis that we need to think, and sometimes I even forget, but that part is crucial, and I think we could see that. So 5 stages, very briefly, and then we will do the demo and a small case study. So every AI project starts with the problem scoping, so clearly defining the problem, the objectives and the constraints, the needs, if you want. The data collection and preparation, gathering high quality data and preparing it for analysis. Model development, building and refining AI models, model deployment and testing. I think my experience here from my mini project, I would say the point number 2, it probably takes about 70 to 80% of the time. It's kind of the most difficult one. The data collection and the preparation, especially in the space of project management, there is not much data. So I'm going to share that a bit later on that project. Okay, let me just go quickly through this. Facebook is using artificial intelligence, so I think, yeah, we know that. Importance of clearly defining the problem statement, like in any project. So as developing an AI system to detect and prevent cybersecurity threats. So you can see that, enhancing the security of software. So that is the purpose of that specific AI tool that Microsoft is working on that security space, which is, I think it's a big one. Techniques for understanding the problem statement. This is stakeholder interviews. We do that in our projects, involve the stakeholders, get their insights, find their needs, and then analyzing existing data. You will see that almost everywhere in our slides, you see references to case studies. The idea is that we don't go through them here, but you will get the slides and you can use them just for you to read a bit more, to understand what's going on in some companies, so that these kind of slides are something that you can go back and learn more if you wish to. The quality of data, the data collection, this is, for me, has been the biggest blocker in developing technology around projects and project management, has been the data collection. and the quality of the data. My experience has been always with PPM systems. I guess many of you know the Clarity. Sorry, somebody has to go on mute. Clarity, Planisware, Primavera, Microsoft project, and so on, and always has been a nightmare to just get good data on projects, even if it's not even for AI, just for portfolio management, reporting, it's always a mess. So imagine if you're trying to build a system or an algorithm that looks into data, that has been an issue. The good news is that now there's some advanced techniques where the data can be auto-generated. So you, as long as you have a model, the data will, the machine learning will develop data sets. And it's kind of estimation, but with solid grounding. So that has been a bit of a discovery for me that, okay, we can build some data even if we don't have it. Which is great, I think, when you look into projects. The ethical considerations comes all the time. Every time you talk AI, ethics and data privacy. In fact, Ricardo and I are working on a new article for HBR, and we gave the option on ethics and project management, and the editor said, forget it, we've written enough about ethics in AI, we want something new. And so it is kind of old, but still very relevant because it's crucial, the ethics and consider it on data. So you need to think in your building an AI model is where do we get the data? What do we do with the IP? Are we, like Ricardo mentioned before, can we get the data from my book? And so we're going to have a bit more discussion later on ethics and IPs and so on. But always think about where's the data coming, just in case, just to be sure that you're not breaching any regulations or so on. Okay, data, there's different type of data and structures and locations. This is not something we're going to cover here, but it's really a science, right? This is data science is something that you cannot take light. And I think this is one of the roles where you see more and more demand to have people who understand, who can play with data, big data. It's a fundamental skill that you need to have in your organization, okay? And I think that's where you get also problems because resources are scarce. Resources are difficult to get committed. Resources are hard to keep motivated, and they're a bit nomads. They move from one job to another, not like we do. So the resources is a big problem. Then you have techniques for model development. So this is, again, very technical, hyperparameter tuning. This is, Uber uses that to fine-tune the recommendation system to improve the accuracy of ride suggestions. So these are some things already included in Uber, in Airbnb, in Netflix. So things that are extremely advanced in AI world, but are extremely technical as well. So I think just put in there for your information, but nothing that we will go deeper. Oh, there's another Ricardo coming to the room. The models, cover that. Model deployment, the scalability, I think it's a very important piece. So once you have already the model, you have the data, the model, then the scalability. Yeah, so how can you expect maybe hundreds of users, thousands of users? How are you going to make this function, right? What's the speed? If you use ChatGPT, for example, version 4, it's fast, right? But still you can see the system thinking, and sometimes it slows down and it's frustrating. We want things really fast. So if you're building an AI solution in-house for yourself, speed is super, super important. And it's a challenge because you depend on other sources to get that performance, which often you don't get that easily. So scalability, another of the key parts. User interface, obvious. This is something that I think in AI, we're going back in terms of user interfaces. The first time I saw the ChatGPT, I thought, is this really AI? It's just so basic, no? It's a prompter, you write, and then the thing is, so it's not fancy at all. So I'm sure there will be much more evolution on the and the interface and the user experience. Today, I think we went to DOS, and when some people, we learned a bit of Pascal, and when we were programming, and that's how I felt when I started to work with ChatGPT. Now I got used to it, but it's not super fancy on the user and the interface. So that's something to take into account. How are we going to? I'm going to show you the predictor tool, and it's not super fancy. So I think that side, the machine, the engines, it's kind of working. What Ricardo showed you before, all these networks, but the user interface has been obviously not a big priority so far in this space. There's the last one, I think, for today, this poll is, which is the most important challenge encountering deployment of AI models? If you are not familiar, I think you can just guess. There's scalability, the ability of an AI system to handle increased workloads. The user interface design, that would be another one. Performance evaluation, so assessing the accuracy, efficiency, and overall performance, deploy AI models. Data quality, ethical consideration. So just guessing, I think there's no right and wrong answer, but based on your experience, what you've heard, what you've read, what you've done, what is that you think is the most important challenge? And we'll see what the group thinks. Ricardo, can you launch this, please?
Yes, it's already launched. We have the 21 answers.
Okay.
I will show you in 30 seconds. Let me just move here. Yeah, let me share here for you. So that you need just to stop your screen, and then I will spotlight. Could you see now?
Yeah.
And then I can read, because it's the data I'll share, but I can read. So the 19 is data quality, okay? This yellow is related to data quality. The number, the second one is the green one with 5, ethical considerations. The third one with 3 is performance evaluation. And 1 is scalability. So scalability with 1, performance evaluation with 3, ethical with 5, and data quality with 19.
Okay.
Back to you, Antonio.
Makes sense. Okay, so this is very much with what we are seeing and what we've researched. So that makes absolute sense. So let me go back to the slides.
Antonio, I'm sending to all of you on the chat the screen, okay? I just captured and I'm sending to you now, okay?
Okay, thank you.
Back to you, Antonio.
Thank you. So I'm going to share the desktop. Okay, so there's a very nice article. So sometimes we put articles here. It's 10 ways Netflix is using AI. I'll put the link in the chat, but I really like that, and you will be amazed the way they're using it. And it's one of the models that people really like a lot. People always say that when you use Google, they use the data that you put into it for improving your user experience. That's a bit how they sell the Googles and so on. Put your data in, and with that, we're going to improve your customer experience. And I've never seen that really. It's always when you put something in Google, you get straight away advertisement on what you were searching for like a week or month. So I think Netflix is considered one of those who are actually using the interaction with you and using AI to increase the experience. So the article is worth reading. So we'll put the chat, the link there. You can just download and read it. But okay, the evaluation is key. I think we know that, and making sure that you get feedback and people are using testing, and then you can do this continuous improvement. So really nothing really surprising. So I think we need to just go through this cycle, just that you are familiar. This is the way it works. in companies implementing AI, and still these are projects that often fail, like more than ever. We're working with some people in the AI space and say, can you help us with the project management, because we are not good. And Agile doesn't work. Interesting, right? So technology, software development, very, very strong on Agile, Scrum, Kanbans, and so on. And suddenly when you come into AI, you need a bit more structured approach. And of course, you will use Agile in the development iterations, but also that hybrid approach, which is something I really, I'm a big fan of hybrid approaches. You see that here, a bit more the traditional project management embedded into some Agile, and you get that. So there's quite a lot of tools, and I think that's the challenge in AI. We've seen that, we talk about that. Every week there's new tools. So we just selected a few for your information, but for each space. So if you're doing problem scoping, you could find some support into IBM Watson Discovery, Google Cloud Auto Machine Learning. So there's specialized tools for scoping into the AI world. That's interesting that, researching found that. Data collection and preparation, key. There's DataRobot. I think DataRobot is something that also Ricardo will talk about, but this is something that, again, specific tools for projects into AI. Amazon Technical Turk, model development, TensorFlow and PyTorch, so really technical. Model deployment, Amazon, SageMaker, Azure, and model evaluation, a couple of more. So this is extremely technical. I think I've never used them, so I cannot demo them. I've seen a few demos, but you never know. If you're going to move into this space, if you're going to start implementing AI in your organization, we thought that these are interesting sources that we have already put together. So you can see the list of the tools here with a bit more explanation. I'm not going to go into that. This is DataRobot, also well known, and it's one of the most famous. You see, can integrates with different platforms and apps and softwares like SAP. So quite advanced. So when you go inside AI, it's extremely lots of infrastructure and system talking to each other. So you need to understand a bit the basics, TensorFlow, and so again, for your information, where I want to move, this is the Azure. Azure is also one of the one that comes across all the time. It's Microsoft, so used for model deployment and the final model evaluation. So this is not tools for project management. These are tools to implement AI. We are going to talk about the tools that you can use in your project, and also have a demo of a few of them so that you can consider for that. What I wanted to do is also share that kind of personal experience with AI. And let me stop sharing the presentation here. So I think I still share my screen. But basically, for me, I've been doing portfolio management for years, and one of my curiosity was, I believe, I think from the work, from the research for HBR, the book, I believe that projects have always the same fundamentals, and if you have the fundamentals in place, the chances of succeeding that project are much higher. If you miss some of the fundamentals, the chances of failure are almost for sure. So kind of you can predict project success. That's kind of my view. And I think one of the challenges today in portfolio management in organizations, one of the biggest challenges that I see in companies that I work with is that the number of projects has exploded. So yeah, companies have thousands of projects. Most of the companies don't even know how many projects they have. And the models that we've learned around project selection were good models, but when you had to select 15 or 20 projects, the current models that we've learned through PMI, Prince2, are for a small amount of projects, 10. Let's do prioritization of 10 projects or 8 projects and spend a bit of time. But when you look at the portfolio of 1,500 projects, these models are obsolete. right? It's impossible. You would spend 2 years just to try to prioritize 200 projects, yet alone 2,000. So I've been researching of what can we do? How can we use artificial intelligence to help us? And I got 2 years ago, I met Professor Paul Baudreau from Canada. We got along very well. We connected. We worked together in a few things, and he has this tool called Predictor. So we started to work. So I went through the process and I did that. So what problem are we trying to solve? Prioritization first, and second, making sure that companies choose the projects that have more chances to succeed. Not on business case, not on ROI, not on NPV. That's always a bit kind of biased numbers, right? So more on the fundamentals of the project, so that companies would invest on those projects that have more chances, and that we will increase the success rate, which is one of my biggest concerns. How can we raise the number of projects succeeding from 30% to 60%? So we work on that. So the first step was problem statement and solving. Then we started to develop on the model. So he works with machine learning. And so we develop a set of, you can see that, hopefully you can read, let me make it bigger. So we had to develop criteria. So is your project aligned with the strategy of your organization? Does your project have a higher purpose? How does and I started to work on that. And I used my project canvas, which has 14 dimensions. So I think that's already enough, but it was not enough to train the model. So Paul kept pushing and said, you need more, otherwise this is not going to serve. And I started adding more criteria. In the end, I ended up with 93 criteria. I say, Paul, come on, who's going to fill in 93 criteria of every project that you see? No, it's crazy. But to make the system learn, you had to have that big amount of projects. And then you need to find the data from at least 50 projects. So we got that. That took me like 9 months, 12 months. And he has this tool called Predictor. So what we did is we moved that into his tool called AI-based prediction tool. We train a model. So the model has been trained there with you see, I don't know how many lines here, 87 in this case. And now this tool, which is being tested and is something that Ricardo and I are looking also to incorporate in some other areas. But basically now you can predict. So we could upload an Excel, which is kind of this template. And for example, let's do that live. I'm taking a big risk here. So this is the template to upload the data into the AI tool. I have here lots of projects that are well known. So for example, the Concorde, the Google Glass, the Burj Khalifa, Apple Park, Noor, this is a solar panel in North Africa, the Fire Festival, I don't know if you heard that, Chaos, Beijing National Stadium, Denver International Airport, the baggage, I think we all heard about that. Target retail expansion in Canada didn't work. So I will take the data from a few projects here. And you see, one is we had that criteria. Is your project aligned with the strategy of the organization? Yes. So this took so much to research anyway. So let's take until the Beijing National Stadium. Let's copy that until the end. We're doing this live. I hope it works. And I'm putting that into the model. Okay, so that's in the model. And so what we're going to do, we know we know what happened with these projects. The tool doesn't know. So we fill in the criteria for all these projects, the Concorde, the Google Glass, and the ones you see there. So we're going to tell the tool to predict with all these 93 criteria whether the chances of success are high or low, just with the criteria, and we'll see if that works. And again, always this is risky, but I think that's part of the fun. If you don't fail, you don't learn. Okay, so we bring that up. Perform prediction. And now we're going to see. So if you look at Concord, the probability of success, just looking at the criteria, is less than 1% of success, just by looking at the criteria. Google Glass, the same, really, it was missing fundamentals. Burj Khalifa, they basically did everything perfect. So obviously result is high. Apple Park, very high. This project in North Africa, also very high. Fire Festival, if you remember, was a chaos, very low. Beijing Nation Stadium, 99. So very big success. Denver failure. So the model is still being adapted, is still learning, but just wanted to show you how this could work when you have like hundreds of projects. The goal working with Paul is to reduce the number of variables from 93 to maybe 40 or even less, so that you don't need to spend so much time. So that's something that still needs to be tested. But basically, this is where I think AI can be very helpful. It's okay, we have all these projects, also running projects. Let's get the data for all of these 1,000 projects, put them in the machine. Tell me which one we need to kill. Tell me which one we need to focus. Tell me which one we need to post. So I think the potential is huge. The savings that we could have from these type of models are amazing. And it's just the starting age. I think this will evolve very quickly. And I'm trying to use ChatGPT to help me with this. And with Ricardo, we discussed how we could incorporate some of the things in PMO Auto. So I think everything will start to converge at one point. But I thought this could be an interesting live sharing of things that are happening in this space. Okay, anybody is familiar with this type of concepts? No? Let me see if there's any questions. And then what I have is a small exercise just based on how are we doing with time, Ricardo?
Yeah, no, we are a little bit behind, but there is Pascal has a question on his side.
Let me see. Yeah, Pascal.
Did you see? Yeah.
We also do some project lessons learned. Yeah, of course. I think I like that, Pascal, and I didn't think about that. Obviously, you could ask the machine to tell you, okay, what are the lessons learned that we should learn in this organization, right? What are we doing wrong consistently, and how can we? And just you could incorporate the lessons learned into the model as well. So if these are things that we fail on high, score them high in your model, and then you will say, hey, guys, this is a big issue. We need to work on that. The question on FIMO, yeah, the results should not be that extreme. So this is something that we are working. There needs to be a bit more, and if you get more numbers, it will get into more spread. This one, because I think I just took 7 or 6, the diversity was either very good projects or really bad projects. But no, I was pleased because the tool can kind of predict the future. Then you need to execute it. Of course, that's another story. But in principle, if we do the things right, it's perfect. What else? I think, Ricardo, maybe what we can do is move into the next chapter.
Yeah.
If we have time, we do a bit of the case study or breakouts, because I think the speaker is coming on time.
Yeah, okay, that's perfect. So now it's back on me. Let me just put myself on spotlight. So thank you very much, Antonio. I think that the question of FIMO was excellent, because it's what we live every single day on PMO and this kind of stuff, because sometimes you test with the data and initially say, wow. And then sometimes you say, why there's no middle? And then you start thinking, okay, it's something with the model, it's the lack of data, because everything that is happening in this area, it's I don't want to say that in a negative way, but it's trial and error. Everybody's trying things and they say, oh, this does not work, so shift to this, because It's, imagine, this is the example I like to say. Imagine you building a house when people are doing the landscape of the house and you are building walls, and then someone just take a truck and say, no, now it's all different. And then you need just to shift things. So just using this as an analogy for us here. Let me just put my presentation here. Okay, so now let's talk. For me, it's excellent to see Gochi presentation because she said and she presented the tools. Some of the tools I saw on her list we'll discuss here, but I tried here to put some of them in a more specific way to us to share. Also to give you this discovery phase, for example, things that I am trying to discover and thinking and what we see right now. So basically, we will talking about how these AI tools are developing, how they can change a project management office, and there are many. And there are many of them, okay? So this is just on the generative AI landscape. And there are many options we can have here. And this does not restrict to the tools, because what Gochi said is about software tools. But I see deeply new things happening on this space, like this. And this can be a game changer, not for you to watch movies and not for you to do FaceTime with your friends, but for you to manage projects, for you to work collaborative. So why I put this? It's not because I want to talk about Apple Vision Pro that will be released early next year, but to talk that you need, I would say, to open your mind on what AI is about. This is AI. If you watch the Apple Vision Pro keynote, you will hear many times the word transformer, the word machine learning, because this is all about applied AI. What we can see that people will have devices that will help them, okay, to get the work done. One thing Pascal said, I want just to highlight, he said, okay, open your mind and your wallet. Yes. However, what I can see is that prices will change sharply. Remember how much it used to cost storage, memory, hard drive, SSD. It's just the price of initial innovation. It's like GPT-4. GPT-4, to buy the tokens, it's still very expensive. But I need to tell you, in 2 years from now, it will be peanuts. It will be zero. And this is the trend we will see. But what I want you to open your mind is that this association of robotics and AI can change a lot. Now going on the enterprise use. I want just to briefly, because Antonio said, we need to understand that there are tools that are for companies, they are for enterprise use, and there are tools that are for you as a project manager. So these are two different universes of applications that we can see. So on these large enterprise tools, one of the most popular is the data robot. And data robot allows you to experiment and produce at the same time. What is the game for that data robot? Is that you can experiment building models, and you can use this concept of DevOps to put into production as fast as you can. So you can test machine learning, and you can use the data and turn that into production and retrofit easily your process almost automatically. And this is integrated with everything else, okay? With everything else. So you can integrate this with all infrastructure you need, with AWS, with Azure, and everything. And you can implement this with your Salesforce. So Data Robot, it's exactly the tool that will incorporate all of this. The second one I don't want to use to say, because this is exactly Predictor, is another one that organizations, if they are able to get the right data, if they are able to get the right information, they can benefit dramatically to predict success rate of their projects using a tool like Predictor. Another one is De Facto. De Facto is a tool, you will all receive this, that will help us to monitor progress and anticipate problems. So this is used by the French government to track projects. Antonio, maybe you can just step in here because you saw that in action in France. So maybe you can share your view on that.
So this is De Facto. I know the owner, they're good friends, and we were thinking maybe to bring them next time. But basically, they've developed this huge data source kind of factory, they call it, connects with everything, and then hyper simplifies everything. So Macron asked to have like an app for the phone where he could see all the public projects in France and the status immediately. No status every month, but on the spot. So and the De Facto work on them with them, and basically it went into the news, and it created a big controversy in France saying we're being watched by the big brother. And so a lot of controversy still on that aspect of transparency and visibility and value creation and problems and issues. And so it's been used still today. It's been also used in other countries, starting to have that visibility through a simple phone that you can check status and just kind of converging and simplifying data so that anybody can have a look on progress and status. So very, very interesting tool that we'll try to either bring them or the next one in the slide to show you live next Friday a bit on this kind of tools. Super interesting.
Good. Thank you, Antonio. Now the next one is I want to share with you is Ofolio. That is a tool to facilitate scheduling process and draft detailed planning. So, and this is just for you to have an idea. They advertise themselves as the Google Maps for project planning. So they give the roadmap for project planning. And these, for example, you can create all sorts of AI dashboards and delays connecting with your own data. And these, I'm talking, are tools that are commercially available. The tool of Predictor is not yet, right? It's on a beta, but these are tools that you can access today, thinking on an enterprise level use. Order, and this is very important. Order, Trello, yes, Trello, Monday, Jira, ClickUp, Asana, and you say, but these are not AI tools. And this gives me to this quote here that I need you to be very mindful. Every single player in this marketplace right now is working on AI tools. So all of them are incorporating pieces of AI tools in their enterprise. So what you can see, for example, Microsoft with Microsoft Copilot, for example, it's incorporating AI on this. Zoom on the incorporation of this summary. So all of them are using this on the enterprise. Now going to something very important, some sector specific, because We have AI tools that are, I would say, enterprise ones, but these ones are very specific. For example, Scope Master testing for IT, Market for architecture, and PathW for structural design. And these are just to give you an idea of the diversity of that. We had in our first cohort the owner of Scope Master that was talking to us in how you can speed up requirement analysis using Scope Master. So refining backlogs and doing this, everything using AI. So it's an example. We can share with you the piece of his presentation in the first class for you to see. He's showing this, but this is specific on IT. Another one, very powerful. It's one called testing from 3Sense that works exactly to automate testing process. So instead of you having 100 people testing something, you can test using AI to test. For example, you want to simulate a usage of your website. So you use testing to say, I want 100,000 people downloading this information, testing this software, or making this, and this, for example, registration. And I want you using AI to set up people that are more proficient, people are less, people that have more IT user experience, people that have to see if they could find a menu, if they could find a feature easily, and they do that all automatically. And this is incredible because this is a massive time saver for people in the process. Another one that this one I really like, and this one, for example, do you remember when, for example, you need to buy a house and you want to build a floor plan and you say, I want a 3-bedroom, this is my area, this is my plot, this is my area, this is my plot. I want to build a 3-bedroom house with 2 bathrooms and this, and you want to explore different ways of structuring that. And this is exactly what this do. Take a look on this video. Look, I'm putting the size I want on them, the characteristics I want on them, and then look what it does. It generates in seconds different layouts that I can download. So it's called maquette.ai. So if you go there, you can do this in seconds using AI, and it will respect what you proposed. So just to give you an idea how this is disrupting, for example, construction, disrupting architecture. Another example is structural design. And now I'm talking, the first part I spoke about designing, but this is to calculate, okay? If you want to use, for example, steel structures, and if you need to design steel structures, you can use this pathY.ai to do that. And it just to give you an idea, it multiplies your productivity by 10 times if you are a structural engineer working on developing, for example, a bridge and this. And they have now a structure for steel, but they may have for different things very soon. And why I show you this application? Just to open your mind, because honestly, you can find pretty much tools for, I think, everything you may imagine. And now, look, other AI tools that we want. So Otter, Magic, To Do, and I want now to go through them. Some of them I shared already with you on some posts, but I want to have a discussion on these tools so we can understand. But before I move into that, Micheline has a question. To which extent you can trust on the outcome, especially every country has its own rules and regulations. On PathY, you can work, and they have, when you were preparing it, you can check which kind of norms do you want to follow on that, okay? Do you want to follow? So usually, European Union rules, UK rules now, and US, Canada, and US and Canada, you can use, and they are developing, of course. Maybe some countries, they have specific rules on that, but I would say it's very trustworthy. And of course, because it's generative AI, we still have the problem of hallucinations, okay? This problem will continue. When these tools evolve, then it's a different thing. Roberto, can I know when PMauto will be used? I plan to show you and use PMauto now for the first time for you to use, and I will explain when I arrive to PMauto why you see it's not so easy as we think to move, exactly because of the technology behind, okay? Okay, the key to all of this productivity, human and professional criticism and creativity are necessary. So that's an absolutely great point, Priscilla. Let me show one thing that I want you to keep in mind. I'm just opening here a note. One thing that I want you to perceive every time you use an AI tool is this. Imagine that the use of an AI tool is a line. And a line that goes, let me put here a line that goes from, no, this is, let me put a pen, that is better. Hold on. That goes from here to here. This is 0, and this is 100%. And I always like to share this with you. What AI does? AI does not bring you from 0 to 100. What you need to understand is from 0 to 5%. Okay? Here. This is you. From 5% up to 80%. Then it's AI. But from 80% up to 100, it's you again. What do I want to mean by showing you this? It's because you need to make a good prompt. It's you here. It's you here. You need to make a good prompt. If you don't make a good prompt, if you do not feed nicely, it will not work. And at the end, then answering to Priscilla, it's you again. Because the results, for example, it will generate for you 25 different layouts for your house. But then it's you again to see, okay, do they look nice? It's what I want, and you need to do that. What every single AI tool is trying to do. From ChatGPT to Bard to Bing to Taplio to any tool you may think in your life, they are working 24/7 to do this, to bring this here and bring this here. Instead of working from 5 to 8, can I do 2% and deliver to you 95%? 98? You know, an answer that is more and more perfect. One example of that, ChatGPT, I will show you this next week. You can customize your ChatGPT, telling about yourself, your style, who you are, and it will help GPT to give answers that sounds like you. You know, it's perfect. No, it's not, because I tried, but it's good. But it's good, and it's evolved. So what ChatGPT is trying to do is to give something that is much better than it used to be. Okay, and There is another tool that I will show also next week called Prompt Smart that helps you to craft the prompt. What is Prompt Smart? It's a tool. No, sorry, it's not Prompt Smart. It's Perfect Prompt. There are so many that Perfect Prompt that you put this plugin and then you can write, I would say, a lousy prompt, and it will transform this prompt in a better prompt for ChatGPT. I will show that, but this is what we are trying to do now. Everybody is trying to do. But remember, there is no way you would use this tool and just copy the result and paste. Even what Gocher showed about her LinkedIn post, I tried many times to do LinkedIn posts this way. And when you read, you say, it's not myself. It's not myself. If I share this, people will know it's not Ricardo's post. You know, because it's not. It's different. It's a machine-based environment. So think always about this. So let me just go back here, because these are very, very important questions. So let me now talk about Otter. And why I want to start talking about Otter. Otter is an excellent, and Otter and Crispy, okay? Crispy is the other one. It's called Crispy. They are a very strong competitors. And what do? They transcribe meetings, events, lectures, and you don't need even to be present in the meeting. And I remember at the beginning of this course, let me just remember who said that. Look, if you go to the beginning where we were introducing ourselves, Joyce Parker sent a note that is an automatic saying, I am an AI assistant helping Joyce with the notes. This is Otter. So Joyce used Otter to do that. And this is able to summarize meetings 30 times faster. So you can summarize and do this. And why this? Project status meetings, risk meetings, all kinds of debriefing. Okay, you can use a tool like this. Now let me stop for a moment here. Now I want you to imagine that you are an Otter executive or a Crispy executive. So you have a good business, you have good traction, you have, I would say, a good marketplace. But then what happens? Then you are here. And someone just throw a bomb here. And this happened September 5th, 10 days ago. Not 1 year ago. I'm talking 10 days ago. Zoom released the Zoom AI Companion. And what will happen when you authorize the AI Companion? This star that is blinking on the top left of your screen now is making a summary of every single point we are discussing here. And this allows an AI companion on the side, that is a star on the bottom of the screen, where I can transcribe and activate. And I can just, for example, imagine that Molly arrived now in the meeting. And she said, God, what they discuss. And then I can press the button, catch me up. An AI companion, okay, will register everything I am doing is starting right now. So I need Micheline, of course, I will share the summary with you. This is why I did, but of course we will do. And it will be good for us even to say if it's good or not, because honestly, it's the first time I'm using in a 4 hour. So I don't know if it will be very good, excellent, okay. But why I'm telling you this, and this is free. And this brings me back to water. And I love water. But now, did you get the problem we have now? And this is what is happening in AI now. And this is why I asked Gochi that, because every time I show you a tool or something like that, maybe the next day something different happens. And it's a very, very turbulent and volatile market. Very. And look, Otter is not a tiny company. We are not talking about a startup that has 2 employees. No, not at all. But I'm just talking because even some of you are already using. And why I'm finishing saying this, because in the first cohort, Sylvie, that was in the first cohort, is here to prove. When I spoke about Otter, this was 2 months ago, everybody was crazy because people said, wow, this is so cool. And look, 2 months later, probably their business model is being challenged now. And
Ricardo,
it's being challenged. Please.
And probably Otter didn't see it coming maybe at first. So I think many of us are coming from PMI, and for me the question is what's going on and what could happen similarly to PMI, right? Like you show your waves there. So this is small, but it could happen big consequences.
Yes. But now, Antonio, I know you want to say one thing, but we cannot. But next Friday, we will have an ultra special guest. Okay, so don't miss next. I cannot disclose. Okay, I cannot disclose, but it will be. You will be able to ask this question to someone that can answer it on behalf of PMI. Okay, but I cannot disclose yet. But just stay tuned. But what I'm saying, and why this is so important, because I know people are crazy, including myself, to learn tools now. But this is evolving in such a dramatic way that a tool appear, disappear, is merged, and it changes completely in a matter of week. In a matter of week. In a week from now, everything may change. But this is just to give you an example. But at the end, Otter is still excellent. Go there, take a look. But these will help us on risk meetings. For example, our retrospective, for example, if you use a Scrum. And these are tools that will help you in the way of your work. Instead of writing project meeting minutes, you can do that. The second one, this one I love, and this one, the best thing, it's absolutely free. It's not trial, it's not, and I will come back to my main screen now, and I want to share, because this one I want to show you, because it's cool. It's cool. You know, when I see something that I like a lot, I see, let me just come here. Okay. Let me just, let me just open Chrome here. I'm sharing now. Okay, hold on, give me a second. Okay. This is, okay, reload. Okay, let me just erase this, remove you from here, and remove this. Okay, so look, this is the tool for you to do a WBS chart. okay, a WBS chart. It's simple like that. Add a new item. For example, new trip to Yosemite Park, okay? Why? Because I'm going to Yosemite tomorrow, okay, to spend the weekend at Yosemite. So I want to know, how can I break this? I write new trip to Yosemite Park in California. Then I press plus. Take a look. I added it, right? Then there is this click here. It's a magic breakdown this item. And then I click. I wait. I never have done this with it. Oh, look. Oh, these are the tasks. Research attack. Did you see? It's creating for me the WBS. Then I say, book accommodations or in or near your Yosemite Park. Break this. I click again. What happens? It's automatically creating. Check the availability. I want to break again. Did you see? You can build your WBS chart, framing the scope of your project in seconds. I'm saying, look, in seconds. I put this, honestly, I tested this in the morning with building a new house, a new 3-bedroom house. But because I'm going to Yosemite, I just decided to challenge myself and use this. Did you see? Did you see this too? This is all generative AI in place. This is all. I can do this until I want. Look, I can break this. I can break as, you know, I can put 20 levels if I want. You know, and this one thing they don't have yet, it's I would love to export this and, you know, click a button and export this, or create, for example, a board in Trello, or create lines in Microsoft Project. But did you see that? And again, what is my intention here showing you this? Okay, what is my intention here showing you this? Look, there is a tool that is immediately available that you can use right now as we speak. Will it solve the problem? No, it will not. What it will do? It will bring you from 5 to 80. It will help you to craft your version 0. What happens then? Pascal can take a look on it and say, I didn't like this. I will refine this. I will refine more. But what is the difference? Instead of Pascal having to think on every single item on his head to do that, all this, you know, heavy lifting job was done by Magic Tools. So this is just an amazing use of AI to do things. And for example, honestly, I'm using this all the time. This is just to share with you. I'm using this every time I need to break some, even my to-do lists. For example, MasterClass, then I need to do, then I go there and I do this. So all the time I do this because it's very easy. It's very easy to make, very easy to do, and it's free, okay? And it's free. You can just go here, and they have other tools, okay? I will not, they do SWOT analysis and this, but this one was for me one absolutely amazing tool I want to share with you. Another one that I want to share with you, and I use this and I share this also on the podcast and other information. It's called Umata. Okay, Umata, it's when you ask any question to a PDF file. There are competitors for Umata, but so far I like very much Umata because something you can use now, and it's something that if it's up to 50 pages, it's free. Okay, it's free. So it helps me a lot. One point that is still unclear. It's how do we do with confidential information? Okay, then it's the challenge because it will be used as a token. Okay, I will talk about this later, but just to give you a highlight, imagine that I have a meeting 5 minutes from now about the risks of the James Webb Telescope. Okay, just to give you an idea. So what I can do something like this. Look, I go to the website of the US Government Accountability Office. I download the report. I upload the report on Umata. I open the report. I ask any question. What are the main risks of the development of James Webb Telescope? And then it presents it to me in seconds. In seconds, including all the references, So this is just a very simple example. What I already did on that, let me tell you one real case, personal real case. I had to hire people, and I received several CVs. I use Adobe Acrobat to combine all these, something like 50 CVs into one PDF with all the CVs. Okay? Then I upload on Umata. And I just ask, please tell me which candidates have more experience on this profile. And in a matter of milliseconds, I had the answer. Oh, this candidate, check his CV on page 3, and this is where I found it. And then it found every single experience on every single candidate. So instead of reading 50 different CVs, I'm just analyzing all of them in one round in a matter of seconds. You know, and say, is there any candidate who lives in California? Is there any candidate, you know, instead of you looking for 50 or trying to compile? This is a simple, practical day-to-day. You can analyze contracts. You can analyze all types of information to help you on that. And up to 50 pages, it's free, okay? There are several competitors. This is a very good tool, and it's a very competitive marketplace. One thing that I want just to highlight, Antonio, because Antonio is the king of strategy. And Antonio, are they aware that Adobe may launch this tomorrow?
Yeah.
Did you get what I'm saying?
I see, yeah.
Why not Adobe saying, no, my tool has this? Done. You don't need to go anywhere. You just go on Adobe and press the button. Did you see how things evolve here? And this is just an example. So right now, it's not available yet. It does not exist yet. But maybe next Friday, I will start my class saying, no, now they have it. Because this is how things are evolving here. Okay? Another one is Gamma. Gamma is the competitor of Lumen 5 that Goucher said about presentation. So they are competitors. I use more Gamma, okay, because I don't know, I like it better, but they are very strong competitors. Gamma is also free for many cases. So this is a true example. So it's saying, hi, Ricardo. So it creates PowerPoints, documents, even web pages. This is another area. For example, if one of you listening to me is developing tools in for example, software, platform, mobile apps, and there are today hundreds of applications that just do the design like that. There is another one. I can show you. It's called Figma. I don't want to to make you crazy by showing 25 different names, but Figma. Let's suppose you are in a project, you need to create a logo of your project, a logo of everything. It creates the logo with the design using AI completely. It asks you, which color do you prefer among this palette? And then you select which kind of design, and it shows you 2 designs. And then you say, I prefer more this, I prefer more this. And it learns your style. Remember supervised learning that I said at the beginning of the class? And then it creates for you. You see the logo. If you like, you buy, and you pay $19. If you don't like, just don't buy it. So did you see? It takes you 5 minutes, and this will shape completely, for example, the industry of design and creation. Right? And I'm just using this to highlight how disruptive things can be. So Gamma, let me show you a simple example. I need to prepare a presentation, okay? And then I just write, I want a presentation of my new project called Employee Training Program. It automatically created the bullet points for me. I pick it up, a theme, a color, and this, and it's there. It's ready, my slide deck. I didn't write a single note. I didn't pick a single photo. The slide deck was created in a matter of seconds. This is just an example for you. And including what is important, it's including the text, okay? It's including the text. It's not just the imaging. It's not just, the design. And this helps me. Remember, it brings me from 5, remember that prompt I wrote, to 80. Now I take this presentation, open on my PowerPoint, and then I adjust, I change some text, I organize in order to get it the way I want, okay? Just before, let me just see, okay, you matter, okay. Yes, Jason, yes, you never use, but you use ChatGPT, yes. Yes, it's a great also competitor. What between us, what ChatGPT is trying to become, Bard, ChatGPT, and Bing, they want to become the Google of AI. Like Google is the dominant marketplace for search engine, they want to be the dominant marketplace for AI, and this probably will happen in some, unless in some very specific. So all of this probably in the future will be hosted in one app, but we don't know exactly how it will be. But Umata is a very very nice. Oh, Pascal, fireflies.ai. It's very nice too. I have used it too. It's another option. Okay. Another thing that I use all the time and I want to share with you, it's Grammarly and Killbot. This is for language and report. I use this absolutely all the time. Let me quickly show you Grammarly, just for you to see here. I have it open here. Let me just open Grammarly here. This is Grammarly. Let me just take here. Look, let me just open the screen here. Grammarly. Hold on. Sorry, let me just close here and open again. Share screen. Grammarly. Okay. Can you see my screen, my Grammarly screen? Then I said, oh, look, it corrects any text I want to make. So I can, for example, take any text. Let me just go to my library here. Okay, my Grammarly. And let me take one. For example, my LinkedIn newsletter of yesterday. For example, look, okay, this is my podcast. So what I do, I put here Did you see? This is what I wrote. And then, of course, there is no suggestion. But look, let me put some mistakes here. Okay, I'm doing some mistakes. And what happens? It suggests all the corrections, but it's not grammar only. It fixes the grammar and it helps me to write in different tones, So I can use, for example, a tool like this to write a text and say, I want it more formal. I want it less formal. So you can use the way you want this. You can write a text, for example, and you want to share it in a formal way. You want to share it in a less formal. Killbot is a website. So you go on Killbot and you can write a text and say, I want you to transform it in a creative text. I do this for every single report I make. Every single communication I need to make, I want to make sure that it has the right tone on that. So this is a tool that we use all the time. And last but not least, Piemoto, right? Piemoto. So Piemoto has been a fantastic journey for me. So what is the vision that we had when 4 to 5 years ago we started, is that we want people to have access to the information and to have something like, an expert on his or her side while working. So it's a ChatGPT with a project management background, with a sharing project management files. And this is the idea of Piemoto. So Piemoto is supposed to be with 3 layers. We have already this second layer, the project manager setup. We are working on the enterprise layer. So Piemoto is a startup that is now going to a Series A funding. So it means it's not yet active. It's not yet, I would say, in commercial. So it's still in internal beta because we are facing all sorts of challenges with the technology on doing that. But I want to share with you quickly here, at least the look and feel, because I know some of you think, oh, what is going on? So does Piemoto exist or not? So let me show you. So Piemoto.ai. We have almost 3,000 people on the waiting list, okay? This is why we had to stop the waiting list. But now I will do my sign in, okay? And I have a login information. So this is Piemoto, and this is the real site. So I can write whatever I need here in terms of questions in the project management side. And we are working because what's the difference is that on the top of answering your question, it will suggest documents, files, readings for you to do. Why we didn't make it public yet? For 2 reasons. We are having performance challenges because we are using Microsoft Azure services to do that, and Microsoft is not releasing for us the bandwidth we want to use and to make it faster. And this is why it's so challenging, because remember what Antonio said, people want answers immediately. They don't want even to wait 15 seconds for the answer. So we are trying to fine-tuning to give a better user experience. And second, we are negotiating to get more and more content inside, because this is what will make the tool a different tool than ChatGPT. And these are the 2 things we are working around the clock. But let me show you. You say, I want to learn about risk management. And then you said, what happens? You will receive an answer that is tuned like a project manager, that is tailored like, because before we go to the layer of the GPT-4, we go to a layer, a specific layer that translate that into project management language using what is called cognitive services. And this brings an answer, okay, explaining to you everything you can do in terms of risk management. And it comes with the citation. And then you can go click here and you can access that specific document, for example, for you to check. So it's a mix between ChatGPT, UMata, and this kind of tool, okay? And what is the idea behind PMO2? What's the idea behind PMO2? Is that we will, and this is what Antonio and I, this is even more the responsibility of Antonio now than me, is to get more and more and more and more content on it, because then we'll have everything there. And this is why we are working. And one of the reasons why I am here in San Francisco is because of that. The second piece is all about making sure that technology is working. Why? Because you may not know, there are very few places in the planet that can run generative AI algorithms. This is not my computer. This is not a server that I buy. No, these are massive machines. They are hundreds of $millions. And we need to rely on them. So it's not Ricardo. Every single player needs to rely, okay, which kind of processor I will have. I will use AWS. Who will host the infrastructure of this? So I need, and we decided to rely on Azure services, Microsoft, and the Microsoft OpenAI. But what happens? They are overloaded and they are still struggling. So this is why, for example, you have no idea. Just in the past 3 or 4 weeks, we had to redevelop something like 20% of our code just because Microsoft decided to change the way you access their links and their data. So this is exactly why we need to have some stability, because we are using a different technology. We are merging 2 types of AI services to do that. And just to give you some food for thought, one of the reasons why we are here also is to get the funding also, because this requires a lot, because we have an ambition of building a large language model in project management. It means to take a large language model that is accessible and tailor it. And then it will be like a GPT, but only with project management knowledge. But this requires a lot of effort, a lot of machine, and then we will stop using Azure cognitive services and we'll start using our own large language model. If this happens, and if we that, then we can transform this in a massive way. I'm just sharing this with you so for the expectation of that. So we are thinking truly big on that. And if this happens, for example, Bloomberg is doing the same for finance. I don't know if you know that, but they are collecting and creating a large language model. A large language model is like GPT, okay? It's like Llama, it's like Palm to the financial market. If they are successful and they release their GPT-like, they will disrupt completely all advisory services in finance. What is our aim? Is to do this, of course, in a much smaller scale. That is the market of project and program management. It means you will not need to know the PMBOK. You will not need to know everything. Will be in one large language model that will allow you to learn and develop. Antonio, do you want to say something about PMO2 before we close?
Well, just quickly, I think you've mentioned everything. The excitement.
You are on mute. Oh, sorry. You are not on mute. Antonio?
Yeah. No, I think it's exciting moments, Ricardo, and you see, you have 3,000 people on the waiting. Every time we have a webinar or a masterclass, people, when do you open it? And I think with these tools, what we want to be sure is that we deliver quality from day one. And if the performance is not there, we need to keep working and working, because the first experience drives the use of these tools. So we don't want to disappoint. The content is great. There's nothing similar. We're competing against ChatGPT in a sense, right? So that's a huge battle, but we believe that the content that we can bring and the use, because we understand project management and projects better than ChatGPT, that's, I think, the biggest added value. So yeah, no, I know we are getting a lot of requests to start, but we need to be sure. So just a bit more patient. We'll get there. Thank you, Ricardo.
It's you have no idea of how hard has been our life recently with that. Sometimes it drives us crazy. And we are on the program of the Microsoft Startup Program, and we have I would say a reliable source of information from Microsoft. But remember, Antonio, when I asked it the last time, it took them 19 days to do what I requested them. 19 days we were, with closed hands and just waiting and sending 5 emails per day, trying to get them to be with us. So it is what it is. Okay, so we are working on that, and I know it's frustrating for me too, because we want this to get ready. Okay, so let me share with you some of I will go back to tools next week, where I will go deeper. Okay, I will go deeper on the aspects of ChatGPT and this analyze, where, remember the exercise I showed you, the case I showed you early, I will do it on ChatGPT. Okay, so I will go back to tools next week. Okay, so which are my conclusions here? So the universe is absolutely endless for us in terms of AI tools, and there are several niche applications and niche applications for everything, from medicine, engineering, business, marketing, personal development, everything. Okay, you can use, and it's critical to understand what is behind these tools. Some of them you need to be very mindful, because there are several tools being developed today where the only objective is to get your information, remember one thing, and this is why, for example, I love the Goblin tools, the magic to do, but every time I love the quote, I forgot, the Jérôme Lanier. I watched him on TED in 2018 in Vancouver, and he said, when you do not pay for the product, you are the product. So you are the product. So it's something for us to think, okay? As AI will continue to evolve, not just about creating algorithms and tools, but also understanding the context. So I truly believe that it will be able to analyze feelings, to analyze, like we said on the moonshot, I think Molly said at the beginning, analyze feeling, analyze the mood of stakeholder. I think this is an area that people are investing a lot on that, okay? What I see also, it's a huge collaboration between AI experts and domain experts. So people with a strong domain in the field, for example, medicine, with AI creating this. And this is the case that will open a massive opportunity for all of us, to work with these companies to help them to shape how future Trello, how future Monday can be using AI. And who will help them to do that will be someone that knows project management, okay? So this, as said, even if you pay, you are the product. Yeah, it's polemic, okay? It's polemic. Look, let me bring now Kyle. So we have, before we do that, let me see if I can get Kyle here, because I believe Kyle is under my name, like
with your name, yeah.
Yeah, right. So
Yes.
let me just rename here. Give me just 5 seconds.
I did that.
Oh, you already did? Okay, hold on. So now I need to find you again because I disappear here. Okay, Kyle. Okay, Kyle, let me make you co-host and bring you. And let me tell you, I am very, very happy to have you, Kyle. Let me find you to put you on spotlight here. Let me find you. There are so many. Okay, Kyle, let me put you on spotlight. Okay. How are you, my friend? You are now, okay, you can unmute yourself. So let me tell you, Kyle is a lawyer and he is expert in AI rights. Sorry for saying that, if there is a way of being expert on this topic, but he is an expert. We know each other. We did work together. I was with his business partner talking for the Brazilian Institute of Corporate Governance. And we already spoke about that, about the challenges of all this legal copyright. Who owns? Can people get Antonio's book and put it to train or not? So, and in this, we saw this a lot last time we were on the masterclass. So I decided to invite him and say, Kyle, please share with us your thoughts on what is going on in terms of privacy, copyright, and the legal aspects, because now there is a fight being played everywhere on AI because of these tools and this. So, Kyle, thank you very, very much for accepting to come and stay with us. Now, the floor is yours, okay?
Thank you, Ricardo. Nice to meet you and everyone. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you very much for the invitation. And like Ricardo said, the idea is that I will briefly introduce the aspects related to regulatory trend on artificial intelligence. I've been working with that for more than 5 years with artificial intelligence specifically, and with data protection for around 15 years. I've been working with that. So the idea is to bring you some of my thoughts on that. First of all, Ricardo, like we talked, I think that we have 8 main aspects to deal with in terms of legal challenges when we think about artificial intelligence. The first one is the data exposure. And when we say data exposure, we're talking mainly about confidential data, but also about personal data. So at this topic, we mix both types of data, personal and non-personal data, mainly when we are talking about the input. So you said we're trying to put more information on P-model. So when you use information in the system, you are, for example, you have 2 challenges here, because you can have a problem, or you can have to deal with legal problems related to data protection and related to confidential data and data protection by data protected by copyright laws in general. The second one is the system availability. You mentioned that to have bandwidth, to have availability of system is something that it's not easy every time, and you are struggling to deal with that, for example. So this is really something that we see as a hard time related to system availability. Also, the violation of third-party rights is also something that we need to look at. Also, the use of the output, it's also that we need to know how to do with that. The lack of quality in the output, it's also something that we deal sometimes. You probably heard about I talked with Ricardo about that. A lawyer in the United States, he were trying to defend one of his clients in a court, and then he asked ChatGPT for 4 decisions on the situation he was trying to defend his client. And ChatGPT presented him with 4 fantastic decisions, previous decisions. The only thing was that those 4 decisions, they never existed. ChatGPT created 4 decisions for that lawyer, and he didn't check that, and he used that in the court, and now he is suffering sanctions because he lied in the court, because he referred to 4 decisions that never existed. So this is something that we need to deal with, the quality of the output. So and when we use something that artificial intelligence created, we are responsible for that. So the lawyer said that, wow, I didn't create that, I copied that from ChatGPT, but it's not enough. He used that in the court, and so he's suffering sanctions because of that. The other thing is also related to the output. It's the biases. We see some bias on the output, so this is also something that we need to fight, not to have bias in the outputs. Also, the lack of transparency. We have a case in Brazil, a fantastic case in Brazil that involved a famous singer here that she died some decades ago, and then she was filmed with her daughter, which is also a singer. Obviously, they created the image of her mother singing using artificial intelligence, so deep fake, and they didn't say that they created that with technology, and it went to an administrative decision here to decide if they violated the expectations of users when they didn't mention that it was created with technology. And they decided in Brazil that even they didn't mention that, they probably failed in terms of transparency. It was not a situation to issue a sanction to the company that used deepfake in Brazil. So obviously, it was the first case. We don't have a lot of cases using deepfakes that went to court in Brazil, but this specific case, we have a decision stating that. And the last point is the lack of explainability. That is also something that we need to pay attention. I will jump to the regulatory trends, Ricardo, and then I will open for some questions if you might have. In terms of trends, when we look at specifically addressing what Ricardo asked, if we see a trend in terms of how the copyright law is looking at the usage of data for training artificial intelligence, if it violates copyright laws or not. I will start obviously talking about Brazil. Here in Brazil, we don't have yet a law specifically addressing artificial intelligence, but this is something that I need to point to you. We don't need always a law to address a new technology or new innovation, because what we need to look at, the law we have now, is that law enough to deal with the new situations that technology created? Because sometimes the law we have is enough to regulate the technology. So we have a civil code in Brazil that addresses specific things on the usage of material from third parties that address illicit. So our civil code, it addresses a lot of aspects related to artificial intelligence. We have a copyright law in Brazil that also addresses some specific things related to the usage of material in technology. And so what I'm here to say is that we don't need a specific law for every technology created, but specifically for AI, we have some gaps that need to be fulfilled with a new law. This is why we have in Brazil 2 draft bills addressing specific things on artificial intelligence. And those 2 draft bills, the 2 of them, they understand that there is no violation of the author's right by using databases and texts protected by copyright for the purpose of training artificial intelligence systems. So if you get a material that is protected by copyright, and if you use those materials to train your artificial intelligence, the Brazilian draft bill is stating that there is no violation of copyrights when you do that. And it's even a discussion if you can even mention that, because they say that you don't use the text itself, use only tokens. So you're not using the material protected, but only tokens or parts of that material. At the end of the day, probably here in Brazil, we will follow that, and there will be no violation to copyright laws by using copyrighted text to train artificial intelligence. But it's not limited to Brazil. When we look at the European Union, for example, we have a directive in the European Union from 2019, the Direction 790, and that direction in its Article 4 establishes that the obligation for member states to have a general permission for data mining as long as certain requirements are met. So it doesn't mean that you are free to do whatever you like to, but you can you can do data mining if you, for example, have explicit reservation of rights by right holders. So you have to fulfill some requirements, but also in European Union, you can use those materials protected by copyrights to train artificial intelligence. It's also interesting to read the Israel Department of Justice issued an opinion suggesting that as a rule, the use of protected works in the training of artificial intelligence systems falls under fair use, which means that there's no violation also of using copyrighted material to train artificial intelligence. So this is the Department of Justice of Israel, which is a center of technology, like you all know. So it's really important that mention from the Department of Justice. Also in Japan, the copyright law from Japan, it's also interesting because it has a specific exception to copyright in Article 30, number 4, allowing as a rule the use of protected work for the development of artificial intelligence systems. So also in Japan, they are allowing that to happen. And last, in the United Kingdom, also there's a permission for that. And they will probably propose a specific general rule there in the United Kingdom for allowing the usage of protected words in the context of data mining as one of the conclusions. This will be one of the conclusions of that specific bill that probably will be proposed in the United Kingdom or this year or next year. So the aspects related to intellectual property and artificial intelligence, they are really new. We're learning how to deal with that. But at the end of the day, probably this will be the trend that will be followed in the world. And I don't think that something really different will happen in the trends in terms of regulatory in Brazil and also in Europe and in the United States. I think that's all, Ricardo. I was to talk about 5 minutes, but I think I talked more than.
That's perfect. Look, I had a talk with Caio this week, just to prepare him for this talk, and I was telling him about this fight on the copyright, because I think that we have the pillar of copyright and the pillar of privacy that I think I'm talking in terms of the user. Copyright, because, for example, I have books. I have written several books. Antonio has written several books. And we know people read them to learn, right? People read them to learn. But we never thought that a machine was able to read all the books on Earth, and then compile that, because then the value of what you produce becomes marginal, but becomes lower. And then I saw, for example, early this year, several artists prosecuting ChatGPT, prosecuting Midjourney, all of them Stable Diffusion, saying you are infringing copyright because you are using my photo to train your system to create new photos. And then 2 months later, I was amazed by the answer they provided. The answer they provide is that this kind of clause, it's like, for example, one of the lawyers said this. Imagine if I go to a museum and see a painting in the wall, and then I go back home and use that painting in the wall as an inspiration for me to create my painting. Am I violating the copyright law? The second one was even further. He said, I told this to Antonio, I think yesterday or 2 days ago, about one of the masterpieces of Velázquez, Las Meninas from Velázquez. That is the classic painting of the Museo del Prado. And Picasso, something like 50 years ago, maybe more than 50, 56 years ago, saw that painting and he created the Cubist view of the same painting. And then imagine if I'm, from the Velázquez family, can I sue Picasso for copyright infringements because I use that to inspire? And what AI, these generative AI are saying is that I'm not using that. I'm not copying the painting. I'm just using it to train and to improve. So, and if what I'm surprised of what Caio said me this week, because this has a major impact on PMOTO. It's, for example, let me please, Antonio, let me use you as an example because you are my brother and you are here. Let's suppose that I can now use the book of Antonio without even asking him to do that. And I'm doing it legally. I go to Amazon, I buy his book, his Kindle version, and put everything on my large language model. And then I buy all Michael Porter's book, everything. I go to Amazon, okay, and I invest a couple of millions and I buy all books available at Amazon and I just put everything on my large language model. Will I not make a copyright infringement? I'm just saying this changed the game. If this becomes true, this changed the game. So this is what I want to hear from you. And please, look, there is an opportunity for all of us. If you have any question, we have a lawyer here able to give us his opinion. Caio, back to you.
Thank you, Ricardo. And only to make it clear, we are talking about the usage of copyrighted material for training purposes. When we are looking at the output, then we need to look at in another perspective. Why I am saying this? Because if the output is really similar to an original work in such a way that it can create confusion between the original work and the output, then you can violate copyright. So the thing is, we need to look at this specific point from two perspectives, the input and the output. The output, it cannot be a reproduction of the original work, because if it is a reproduction of the original work, then we might have a problem. So like you can see, it's a line between inspiration and copyright infringement that is subjective. It's not objective. So if you copy Antonio's book and then ask for GPT, for example, to rewrite Antonio's book using different words, but with the same specific text, then the output will violate copyright, because you're rewriting the book only using different words. So this is what we need to be really attentive, because input and outputs, they are different. So what the movement, the trend we're seeing is, we will not forbid the training of artificial intelligence, because the training of systems itself does not violate copyright. But we need to look at the output, because if the output is a copy or reproduction of an original work, then it will be deemed as a violation of copyright.
Good. I have, because I don't see, if anyone wants to ask a question, just raise your hands. But I'm fascinated about this topic because this topic is at the center. I want to ask you two questions. First one, we had this in our previous class. Imagine you work in the project for an health insurance company, okay? A health insurance company. Mm-hmm. Can you train using the data of your patients? For example, trying to correlate weight, life habits, and diseases and this for all your base, so you can price your health insurance plan much better by knowing your customer. And you know, okay, if the person lives in this neighborhood, I should increase by 10%. If the price, if the hair of the person is long, then I charge less. I know this is very polemic, but how the law perceives that in general? This is my first. And the second question is about confidential information. So how these AI tools legally can say, look, I don't care if you're using for training or not, but this information is confidential. So it means it's a sensitive information, even for you to train. How they handle that? These are my two questions for you.
Okay, the first one is it's interesting because we need to think, for example, if we really need personal data to train the machine. I mean, may we use pseudonymized data or anonymized data? Because if we can use, for example, instead of knowing Ricardo Vargas, how this he is so many years, he lives at this specific address, we can use, for example, a man from 30 to 50 years living in San Francisco that has this degree. So we probably will not need to name you to train the machine. And this is something that we need to pay attention when we're going to use those specific tools, because we need to clear the database before using those data. But even if you considering you're using personal data, you will need to have a legal basis to do that. So you need to, or either you will have, for example, the consent of the users, or you will use that for example, to perform a contract with the users. So we have a lot of clients, Ricardo, that they are using something really similar to what you mentioned. They are using artificial intelligence to understand if a treatment will be authorized or not by the health insurance plan. And they do that considering the historic of that specific guy, his age, a lot of things, and the artificial intelligence, when consulted, decides or states, hey, this is authorized, or no, this is not authorized. So obviously there's a human review of that. There's a doctor that reviews the decisions of AI, but they are using that, and there's no violation of doing that. And why there's no violation? Because at this specific client, they put in the contract the usage of AI for analyzing, requesting for treatments, and so all the users of that health insurance plan, they authorized the usage of artificial intelligence. So this is something that needs to be clear. You need to have transparency with the user, and if you are transparent, then you can go ahead and use the artificial intelligence. But I think it's the first view. The second question, sorry, I missed that.
Was about confidential information.
Okay, this is a huge problem we have because well, you need to analyze the terms of use of the tool you are using, and a lot of, for example, you have GitHub Copilot and you have GitHub Copilot for individuals and for companies. So you have different situations when you use, for example, an individual version of the tool versus a business version of that specific tool. So first thing is analyze, read the contract, the documents, the terms of use of the tool, of the platform you're using. And second thing is try to understand the settings of the tool, because you mentioned GPT, for example. ChatGPT, you can, for example, block the usage of the material you put in the input as a default for ChatGPT. You go to settings, you disallow the usage of the content you put in ChatGPT. So this is also something that you can do. You can deal with the settings in such a way to avoid the usage of confidential information as a rule. But the thing is, Ricardo, is that I think that almost everyone uses ChatGPT here, at least for asking for something, or to translate something into another language, or to do initial research on something. And people in every company, in every sector are doing that. So we need to create a culture on people to avoid putting confidential information, to avoid inserting data, personal data that they don't know if they can share that with a company like OpenAI, for example. So I think that we are in a moment now that we need to create culture on how to use artificial intelligence. We cannot block the usage of artificial intelligence in companies. We need to train people. We need to tell them what they can do, what they can't do. But we can't say, hey, you are forbidden to use artificial intelligence because you are this way we are losing confidential information. So there's a way to use responsibly with ethics. And so this is our mission in our law firm, to train people how to use that correctly and not to forbid the usage in companies in general.
But Kyle, we need really to wrap up here. It was a great. So I will ask if people have more questions. Then I will forward to you. People are also, if you want to connect to Kyle, I will share with you his LinkedIn profile. Okay, if you can share in the chat now, it will be great. Kyle, thank you very, very much for your time. You know, I know you are busy in Brazil, but it's very, very insightful to see how things we expected are turning into, I would say, it's like different way, you know, and we need to see how things will evolve. But thank you very, very much for your time. Okay, so now I will just come to the end of our day, okay? But before you leave, I have 3 more slides just to share with you very, very quickly, okay? First, takeaways for us to end our days and to end this part 3. You must explore these different tools and explore creativity ways to solve the problems using the tools you have, okay? And the tools are not the same. Every single one has advantages and problems, and starting using now. And this is something very important. And this drives me to our homework, okay? Yes, there is a homework. If you don't have a ChatGPT account, please open one, okay? Pick any project that you want. It does not need to be a real project. And I want you to create a stakeholder management plan using 100% of GPT. 100, not 90. I don't want you to write anything. See the results and take a note on positives and negative sides of this to share with the group at the beginning of next week. So you can create a fictitious project using 100% GPT, 100. And then you say, no, Pascal, you cannot edit the results. You can do interactions. Yes, you can, but you cannot move it to Word and edit. I want you to say, you can talk to GPT and say, I didn't like your 3rd paragraph. Please rephrase it for me. You can do that. But you cannot edit the answer. And then you may come to me and say, look, the answer was crap. or the answer was great. But I had to do 25 interactions until it come with a nice plan for me. And this is what I want. And I want you because there is no way out of these 40-something students on this class that you leave this class without using this kind of tool. There is no way. This will be, I would say, a big failure for us. So do that homework, okay, anytime you want, and we'll select 2 students to share with us. Another thing that is super important for us, we would love to hear from you. So if you scan this QR code, it takes you 10 seconds, truly, just to evaluate our day, okay, and see, okay, what Antonio and I can do to improve this day, what went well, what we should replace, what we should change, okay, on that. And we will see you all again. There is a different link for the next class. This is why you received 2 invites. Another thing, you will receive later today an email coming from us. If you did not receive any email from us up to now, because I received it from my team, please let us know. Every one of you should have received 3 emails so far. One with a welcome message with suggestions of readings and this. Another one with the Zoom link for today. Another one for the Zoom link for the next week. If you did not receive that, reach out to us on that. Please, okay? Because sometimes it's a spam and this, so we want to make sure you receive that, okay? So at this point, everybody that wants to leave can go. I will still stay here because I have Herman and also Sylvie question to answer. But thank you all very much for joining us, and see you next week, okay?
Thank you very much. Thank you. See you next week. It was a pleasure.
You.